This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, August 12th, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. As the 2024 Olympic Games came to a close yesterday, no Olympic medals for Trinidad and Tobago at the end of the prestigious event, which climaxed yesterday in Paris. However, some of the high points of the Games were Olympic two-time medal javelin thrower Keyshawn Walcott, placing seventh in the men's final. Jerome Richards placed fourth in the men's 400 meters finals. Cyclist Nicholas Paul reached the quarterfinals in the men's sprint and keirin events. Paul brought an early end to his Olympic campaign after failing to advance past the men's keirin quarterfinal at the National Velodrome in Paris on August 11th yesterday. At Paris 2024, Team TTO repeated its Tokyo 2022 performance. Before that, the country's athletes had climbed the podium on 6 straight occasions at Olympic Games between 1996 and 2016. Trinidad and Tobago's Olympic Committee President Diane Henderson told The Express yesterday, quote, "I would like to say concerning LA, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and there's not just one situation. Sporting organizations have to take a deep review of what they're doing and what they're not doing. Are they really doing anything differently to change, or are they really developing our young-based athletes?" She said athletes with Olympic aspirations need to be supported on the journey by the powers that be, end quote. The English-speaking Caribbean copped 11 medals at the recently concluded Paris Games. Jamaica went from 9 to 6 between 2020 and this year, 2024. The Caribbean also saw 2 Caribbean islands winning medals for the first time, St. Lucia and Dominica, as the athletes brought gold and power and prestige to their respective countries. The U.S. won a total medal count of 126, including 40 gold, 42 silver, and 44 bronze. China placed second in the medal race with 91, 40 gold, 27 silver, and 24 bronze, and Japan was third with 20 gold and 45 overall. Minister of Public Utilities has declared the recent shutdown at the Water and Sewage Authority County Treatment Water Plant a success as works were completed and operations restarted ahead of schedule on Sunday yesterday. The shutdown was to facilitate the critical electrical work and was expected to last from midday August 9th to midday August 11th. A WASA release yesterday, Sunday, said work concluded and operations restarted at 8 a.m. in the south system and 10 a.m. in the north. The Minister of Public Utilities, Marvin Gonzalez, congratulated WASA staff for their hard work to resume operations ahead of schedule. The authority, he said, will now monitor the situation. The Trinidad and Tobago Met Service is monitoring an area of disturbing weather near 48 degrees west, approximately 1,530 kilometers east-southeast of Antigua. At 5 a.m. on Sunday, August 11th, the system was moving toward the west-northwest near 21 miles per hour. This motion is expected to continue during the next couple of days. On the forecast track, the disturbance is expected to move across portions of the Leeward Islands on Tuesday and approach the U.S. and British Virgin Islands on Tuesday night. 2 teenagers and a 21-year-old mother of one was killed in a police-involved shooting at the County Savannah Road early yesterday morning. The fatal confrontation occurred at 4:40 a.m. near the County cremation site. Police said they received a report of a car with occupants carrying guns and subsequently came upon a white Nissan Almera speeding along the road. Officers said when they attempted to stop the car, the driver rammed the police vehicle and 2 gunshots were heard. The car ran off the road and 2 other gunshots were heard before police returned fire, hitting the 3 occupants. The trio were pronounced dead on arrival at the Equinity Medical Sciences Complex at 5:14 a.m. They were IDs Amir Parbisoon, 16, Jaya Jodi Barath, 21, both of Samaru Lane, Duk Singh Street Extension in St. Augustine, and Joseph Ramjit Kalpu of Spring Village. Police claimed they were affiliated with the resistance gang, who are masterminds behind extortion rackets in central and north Trinidad. They said a black pistol was recovered from the car in which the men were traveling. Police Complaints Authority Deputy Director Michelle Solomon Bash confirmed yesterday an investigator had been assigned to investigate the incident. 49 Venezuelan nationals have been apprehended for illegally entering this country between 11 p.m. on Saturday and 6 a.m. yesterday. Police said an operation was conducted by the Immigration Investigations Unit During the operation, 49 Venezuelan nationals comprising 41 females and 8 males were apprehended for illegal entry into Trinidad and Tobago. Officers conducted searches of multiple locations across Central Division based on intelligence received. The individuals are to be transferred to the Immigration Detention Center in Aripo for further processing. Inspector Phillip and Sergeant Dulat were directing supervision from Corporal Richardson. Blake and others. The exercise was conducted without incident and remains part of ongoing efforts by the Immigration Division and TTS Immigration Investigation Unit to ensure compliance with immigration laws in this country. Finally, the UN says global youth unemployment is at its lowest level for 15 years, though all regions have not yet recovered from the COVID-19 slump. The number of 15 to 24-year-olds who are not in employment, education, or training is concerning. The UN's labor agency said, adding, the post-COVID pandemic recovery has not been universal in all regions. The ILO says 64.9 million, a total of unemployed young people worldwide in 2023, was the lowest since the start of the millennium. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning to you.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, what's happening? It is Monday, the 12th day of August. Thank you so much for joining us on Power 102 Digital. It is the Power Breakfast Show. Of course, full casting except Richard. We just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen. We got Shane and Ruben in the mix. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. 25 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 26 at Crown Point in Tobago. And the Met Office says today is going to be partly cloudy periods with scattered showers, especially from mid-morning. There's also a medium 60% chance of thunderstorm activity. All right? That's what the Met Office is saying. So take note. All right? So let me say good morning to Dr. Paul Richards and Wendell Stephen.
Good morning, Steve and Wendell.
Morning, Pablo. Welcome back.
How are you doing,
Good morning, Steve and Paul.
Hello.
And good morning, Richard, and listeners and viewers all over the globe. Yeah. What's up, Paul? What are you up to?
I'm sleepy.
You sleeping?
Oh,
I
yeah.
I
kind of
landed at 11:58
I got
last night and got home at 1:45, so you know.
I got home pretty late
That's not
too
too bad.
from Pan at Woodford Square. It was an absolutely fantastic event. Beverly Ramsey-Moore and Minister Randall Mitchell take a bow. That was an excellent showing yesterday. And boy, did Pan lovers come out.
That's good.
You know, Wendell, I've said it in Parliament and I've said it here before. Some people agree with me, some people disagree with me. Since Minister Mitchell took over tourism, arts and culture, a lot has been happening positively.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Positively.
Yeah.
Sport.
You know,
Sport is.
I want to deal with sport after, but let me give Pan the kudos because, as I said, and you know, I've spent quite a number of years in politics, right? And I do understand some politicians, you know, and a Pan event of that magnitude yesterday, you'd think you'd see politicians about the place, right? I saw Minister Randall Mitchell, and I saw Minister Penelope Beckles-Robinson. That's it. I don't know if I missed anybody, but I was very observant because I was walking around. Myself and Harper, you know, he walked around more than me, of course, and he observed the same thing. And why aren't politicians and even the local government people in and around the city, well, they walk around now? walk around and be amongst the people and thing now. You know what I mean? But that event was sold out. It was free, of course, but let me tell you something. It was fantastic. And All Stars, jeez, and I stayed back deliberately to hear All Stars. I ain't leaving Woodford Square until I hear All Stars, and they did not disappoint. They did not disappoint. But kudos to all the other bands, including the World Steel Pan Orchestra, the National Steel Pan Orchestra. It was, I said, World National Steel Pan Orchestra. They were absolutely fantastic. They played a wide assortment and rendition of tunes. It was really, really well put together. Kudos, Randall Mitchell and Beverly Ramsey Moore again. And for Pan Trinidad on the whole, you know, they did a fantastic job yesterday. You know? But again, sport. I had to block a certain person. I don't like blocking people, and I read most of what he may send and listen to some of what he sends. But yesterday in reading his missive, I'm saying, okay, you're right. Your criticism of the Minister of Sport is justified. Your criticism of corporate Trinidad and Tobago is justified. But what is this to banker with Dr. Keith Rowley again? Saying that he only sent congratulations to Jereem. Dr. Rowley responded to Jereem's post to build up his courage and say, listen, yes, I'm still supporting you. We are still supporting you. He didn't just pick out Jereem. He responded to something Jereem said. Oh, for crying out loud. But let me tell you something. Yeah, this weekend was a good weekend for me. I didn't go to the Oval because most of the match was rained out. West Indies held on by the skin of the teeth, you know. But so I just relaxed and went Pan yesterday, and Pan did not disappoint. For anybody who missed it, I'm sorry, but there are several other events coming up, as this is Steel Band Month. You should also really go and attend one of these events. Yesterday was a marquee event. Woodford Square was packed to capacity. Well done.
Well, that's good. That is good. Sweet sounds of Pan. Of course, yesterday was also the closing of the Olympics out in Paris. And good news, cricket will be included in the next Olympics, which will be held in Los Angeles. Sad news is that I believe boxing is coming out.
Well, breakdancing should come out too. My God, as soon as it comes in, it should come out. But you know, that Australian woman made the Olympics memorable. Did you see it, Paul? You have it?
She's a professor too.
I disagree that she made it memorable.
I mean,
I think the Olympics would have been memorable without her.
Yeah.
I think she's so horrible, it's not funny, and I downloaded it.
But of course, it's funny,
and it
Paul.
should be. It should.
It's not funny at all to me, in any way, form, or fashion.
To me, it shows that breakdancing should not be in the Olympics.
No, Steve, I disagree, because I'll share some of the breakdancing. If you look at her alone, you will think so. Okay? If you look at her alone and think that represents breakdancing, you will think so. But she should not have been at the Olympic Games. She was horrible. And I don't know why Australia sent that woman there.
To make a statement now.
Because she was embarrassing herself, her country, and the discipline, because people work hard, as you will see in the clips that I'm about to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
she has a PhD in breakdancing. No, she's got a PhD in breakdancing.
I don't know. A PhD in breakdancing.
That is why I think she deliberately
did
what she did.
No, she didn't deliberately do nothing. First of all, I blame Australia and I blame the Olympic Committee for letting her qualify. Let's share it so people could see. I understand it will not be, probably because of her, breakdancing will not be in LA 2028.
David,
while our athletes didn't bring any medals, I thought this was important to play because Keyshawn Walcott played 7th in the world, and he had a serious injury 11 months ago.
Yeah.
All right.
And recovered and trained enough to qualify for the final.
I did back now. Let me laugh.
And did you see the plane that crashed in Brazil?
Portuguese, yes, ATR in Brazil.
This
We
is
talked about that
this
last
is
week. didn't we?
madam
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
nonsense, absolute nonsense. I didn't want to watch her anymore. She was embarrassing.
I find it funny.
She was embarrassing.
I think she got exactly what she wanted to get out of it.
No, I thought there's a sense of entitlement. I thought she was all that because I mean,
Yeah.
let's say that. Good morning, Trinidad.
It's a one-off. It's a one-off.
I think she just felt Noah Lyles was getting
Misleading.
too much attention and she wanted some herself.
Karate has also been dropped.
So the
from the
English-speaking Caribbean got 11 medals, and the Caribbean overall, including Spanish-speaking countries, got 23 medals. Cuba led the way, with 8 medals, 2 gold, 1 silver, and 5 bronze. Jamaica was second. They dropped from 9 in 2020 to 6 in 2024. Jamaica got 1 gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze. St. Lucia won its first Olympic medals, both earned by Julie and Alfred, who captured gold in the women's 100 meters and a silver in the women's 200 meters. Dominica also secured its first Olympic gold medal with Tia Lafond in the women's triple jump. Dominican Republic also had a successful campaign with gold in the women's 400 meters. And Christian Javier Pinales with bronze medals, and Unia Alcantara also. Grenadian athletes also earned 2 bronze medals. Lyndon Victor in the men's decathlon and Anderson Peters in the men's javelin throw. Puerto Rico also contributed to the Caribbean's medal count, with Yasmin Camacho Quinn getting bronze in the women's 100 meters. So the US got the largest number of medals, with 126, 40 gold, 42 silver, and 44 bronze. China was second, 91 in all, 40 gold, 27 silver, 24 bronze, and Japan was third, 20 gold and 45 overall.
Yeah. I think USA must compete in every single category, every single event.
Well, they have the resources.
Yeah.
And they have, and while we have to discuss the Ministry of Sport and the TNT Olympic Committee, we also have to discuss corporate TNT, because is it Nike or Adidas? I think it's Reebok. Invested $52 million in the US team.
Yeah.
You understand? So corporate TNT has a role to play also, not just put them up on a big page when they win.
Absolutely. Not when they win a medal and say every corporate is just going, congratulations.
But more than that, they just try to exploit the situation by doing public relations and marketing.
Yep, it's been happening for years. I think, though, the success of this Olympics for me, you don't have to agree, for me, was the people of the diaspora who represented almost every single nation on planet Earth in this Olympics. And that podium was filled with people of the diaspora over and over and over again, representing Netherlands, Britain, United States naturally, even countries in Eastern Europe. They saw them representing these countries all the time. You understand? I was so pleased with that. And if people don't know what I mean, Black people are talking about. They continuously went up on that podium.
WASA completed their rehabilitation works on the Caroni water treatment plant on time. The Minister Gonzalez congratulated WASA and their staff for doing the repairs on time. I think
in fact, before time.
I'm seeing on the chat that people are saying they don't have water returned.
I don't.
When we spoke to Daniel Plenty on, is it Friday?
Yes.
The corporate communication manager was that some areas will take a little longer than others.
Yes.
He said that.
24 to 48 hours.
Depending on how far you are from the plant, some will take between 24 and 48 hours to resume service or full service. So,
yeah. Not only that, they changed a pipe out in the Payako area to realize it had a leak. So that work was supposed to be completed by 11 p.m. Last night.
so good job, Watson.
Yeah, well done. You all really working right past the road. You guys were working
Overtime,
So-
nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So most of the areas are really in the east-west corridor, starting from St. Augustine right down to Barataria, St. James, St. Anne's, Cascade. So when I checked my taps this morning, we still had no water.
Oh.
So I don't know if, we were affected by that leak out in the Payako area, which they had to shut down again. So hopefully when I get home later, I locked off all the water going to the tanks. So so I have a pipe that runs from the road. So I'll open that out and let all that dirty water run out before I let it go into the tanks.
And did you guys, because I passed not too long after the accident, because they had the SUV on top of a wrecker with that Pradial Larceny, the brand new Pradial Larceny police vehicle.
12 days old, Wendell.
Yeah,
12 days it's been on the road.
No, but did you see the video of it, Paul? Do you have?
He didn't stop at all, eh?
You have the video, Paul? How come I didn't send that to you?
Let me see if I can get it and send it to you.
Send it to him, Steve. I think it's worth showing because it's a classical example of recklessness.
Yeah.
And of course, the police officer who was driving the vehicle is now nursing a broken arm, and I don't know the condition of the driver of the SUV. I think it's a woman. It was so unfortunate. I passed and I actually saw the SUV on top the wrecker. But I saw a lot of police vehicles around, so I say I'm sure that I thought it would have been a police officer.
Let me send this to Paul too. That's some good news there. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was a terrible accident.
Well, they had the TTPS had 3 of their vehicles involved in the accident. They had that one. They had one at Edward and Independence Square, and of course the other one by the Carney cremation site where they said the vehicle rammed them. So I sent 3.
That's the one where the 3 guys got shot.
Yeah, I sent one where on the streets of Japan they were dancing to Calypso. I sent that, and of course the vehicle and the video. So
you're sending too many things at the same time. You can't download.
I don't know if you're going to
Paul
process
can handle anything.
Look, audio.
No, Paul can handle anything.
No. I'm too tired this morning. No. Well, speaking of the Carney situation, conflicting stories again. The police have one narrative, and the people who I guess were around have a different narrative. When 2 teenagers and a 21-year-old mother were killed in a police-involved shooting at Carney Savannah Road early yesterday morning. A 21-year-old mother of one. Not one of the boys, of the people. She had a child.
Yeah.
That's how. The 3 people who were killed by police. One was a woman?
Yes. She's the mother of a 2-year-old.
I didn't realize that.
Where is the body cam footage?
The confrontation occurred around 4:40 a.m. near the Carney cremation site. As the report goes, police received a report of a car with occupants carrying illegal guns and subsequently came upon a white Nissan Almera speeding along the road. Officers said when they attempted to stop the car, the driver rammed the police vehicle and 2 gunshots were heard. I'm sure all of this is caught on CCTV camera or body cams.
Body cams.
The car ran off the road and 2 other gunshots were heard, well, unless the battery ran out. Before police returned fire hitting the 3 occupants, they were pronounced dead upon arrival at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex at 5:14 a.m. Which is not
they were members of the resistance gang?
They are certain members of the resistance gang. They are ID'd as Amir Pabisoon, 16 years old.
Oh.
Jaya Jody Barath, 21 years old, both of St. Augustine, and Joseph Ramjit of Kalpu Trace Spring Village.
So who's the female there?
I guess it's Jody.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yes.
Claim they were affiliated with the Resistance Gang, who are the masterminds behind extortion rackets in Central and South Trinidad. Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Keith Scotland, has said to business owners in Chaguanas concerned about instances of extortion that it has now come to his attention. It's a serious development, and he will be ensuring that a proper plan to deal with it is afoot. And he's assured Chaguanas businessmen that extortion will be dealt with. He's making plenty promises,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's a politician.
Yeah.
But if that's what they put, anyway, gosh.
No, they didn't put them there to make promises that not kept.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
And I didn't even infer that. I was going down a completely different road.
Right.
And I sent Paul another video of a reveler from the View Fort Carnival escaped death after a truck nearly passed over her on Sunday afternoon.
Well, Paul sent that one to me. I only looked at it late last night.
Yeah,
and I said, my God, I hope this is not Trinidad.
No.
That is in St. Lucia?
Yeah, View Fort.
View Fort is St. Lucia also? Well, besides the View Fort, we have in Trinidad up in the back by George Cabral.
So a lot of stuff happened here.
I wonder if any corporate entity will take out a full-page ad.
It is in Lucia.
And congratulate the Olympic team for their efforts in Paris. You think so?
NTA should do one.
Any corporate entity. What's wrong with you? Stop this morning.
You're always poking people. You play pot on that now?
And
he did point
We should have a poll on that. Do you think Trinidad and Tobago, how to say it, field our athletes head into the Olympics?
I think we would have done that.
The head of the TTOC, Dan Henderson, appealed to the powers that be to support the athletes.
Listen, the whole sporting industry right now needs a serious shakeup.
Really? From where?
That may be the question we should ask. Should the people involved in the entries and what's the other sport company be changed? That's the question we need to ask. Because, and which is why I don't mind the criticism of Minister of Sport, because you've heard nothing. At least I haven't heard nothing.
No, I saw a post somewhere congratulating one of the athletes. So let me be fair.
Well, to be fair. But I've seen or heard nothing from her during this Olympics.
Really? How strange.
I'm shocked.
So she needs to step up her game in sport. I mean,
really? You think so?
As loud as Anil Roberts was, you used to see and hear him every minute. And I think I see and hear him too much this Olympics. He's shouting on the TV and buffing up the others and always making them feel like they don't know what they're talking about. He is disgusting. Anyway, but at least he was an effective minister of sport. Even Roger Boynes was a very good minister of sport too. You always saw him.
Are you implying that Minister Kojo is an ineffective minister of sport?
I said she's just not public enough. I ain't hiding that.
But I asked you a specific question. You said least Anil was effective. Are you implying that Minister Kojo Lewis is an ineffective minister of sport?
I don't know if she's ineffective, but she's certainly very absent.
Do you think she's an effective minister of sport?
Well, effectiveness comes with if the people get in what they need.
I didn't ask you. I'm asking if you think Minister Kojo Lewis is an effective minister of sport.
Well, I can't answer that because once the organizations get in what they're supposed to get, the funding and whatnot and the guidance and so on, then she is effective. But she is absent. You're not seeing and hearing from her. That much I could say. I know what you tried there.
What did I try there, Wendell?
I'm not afraid to criticize my PNM colleagues. You know that, right?
I'm not asking you to criticize your PM. I ask you if you made some
No,
statements.
well, I am criticizing her, you know. I just think she needs to be more present, more visible, more
In what way?
vocal. You know, but again, if the organization's getting what they need, well, then I guess she will consider herself effective.
Are the organizations, well, she is one, the state / the government is one part of it. Another part of it is the sporting organizations in the various disciplines and their development programs. And then, yes, the state has to support in funding and infrastructure and stuff like that. So it's a multi-sectorial thing that certainly needs a lot of attention. The evidence of whether or not we are doing enough and we are excelling certainly is coming out of these Olympic Games. Apparently, if the report in the Express by Kwame Lawrence is correct, in 2020 we also came out medalists. Is that true?
Yes. In what?
20, 4 years ago.
Well, 2021. The Olympics was held in
2021. We also came out medalists. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Right. And then we followed that up this year. Jamaica went from 9 to 6, but at least they still have medals.
Yeah.
And two smaller Caribbean countries in St. Lucia and Dominica medaled for the first time. And they're much smaller countries and economies than ours.
Yes.
So if people think that saying that is being unpatriotic, as some people are want to do, so be it.
Well, maybe we should poll. We could do a poll on the Minister of Sport today.
What would you like the poll to be?
Exactly what you asked. Do you think that the Minister of Sport is an effective Minister of Sport?
Okay, we can ask.
We could ask that. Yeah.
You are supplying the poll today.
It's a short poll. I'm not afraid to ask that.
It's a very short poll, you know.
Yeah. It's Monday. I had a long weekend. I had a lot of pan to deal with yesterday. You know? So we can ask that.
When they see them.
Oh gosh. But I will reveal a bit of my business next week. By the way, Wednesday morning I may not be on the show, so I'll probably join tomorrow. But I will reveal some of my business next week, God willing, and I'll tell you along the same sporting line and what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago for young athletes and so on. People out there are seeing them, and people out there are helping them, you know, which is good. I mean, it's all under the how I should put it, the links they have here too, right? So a lot of people in Trinidad quietly helping people, you know.
I'm trying to lengthen your poll.
No, not my poll good. Because we go spend whole morning on it if it gets too long, you know.
Okay. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Where's my story?
Somebody named Roberto Mohammed. I don't know if you've been seeing the post, Paul or Steve. Roberto Mohammed.
I'm trying to decipher
nothing
it.
to do with the program.
I'm trying to decipher it. 49 Venezuelan nationals have been apprehended for illegal entry into this country. 41 females and 8 males. At 11 p.m. Saturday and 6 a.m. yesterday, police operations were conducted in the Central Division.
Central again.
Based on intelligence. You know, some friends of mine from the US came down about a month ago. And they're Trinidad nationals who've lived in the US for a while, right? So it's not that they don't know Trinidad. They went when they in the teens and they have lived outside for 25, 30 years. So they came back and decided to drive around Trinidad and Tobago. And one of them, she said, you know, I've never been to Cedros and Moruga. So they took a day and they drove down to Cedros and Moruga. She hired a driver and he took them to Cedros and Moruga. And she said she was in awe of the fact that there was a maxi waiting by the seaside, which she saw people come out of a boat and went into the maxi, and the maxi drove off. And she said, this appeared to be Spanish in nature. In
Them as you went on an excursion.
Oh, they went fishing, and she said about 30 of them came off the pirogue, and they just calmly walked off, no running, nothing, including children, and went on to the maxi. And there were other maxis waiting for other vessels, apparently. And then when they went into areas in Moruga and surrounding areas, they saw villages of Venezuelans. Normal, no police running them down and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think that they decide, okay, we need to make a bus sometimes.
Yeah.
And make it on the papers.
Like my concern is, where could that Prasia Larceny police vehicle be rushing to that early morning yesterday? You know what I mean? Where could they possibly have been rushing to?
Somebody was thieving a goat, you know.
To break a light like that. I mean, you're supposed to slow down still, especially if you know you're actually going through a red light. Slow down and then proceed. They said the police vehicle had on its siren. But who's seen or hearing a siren at that speed?
Yeah, but you don't with still siren on. You don't pelt through her as we call it.
That was
And
very reckless driving. Very, very reckless. Very, very reckless of them. And I just hope the person
Shall we open the phones, gentlemen?
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. While I check my own phone. Yeah.
All right.
Morning,
so we have some calls coming through, so let's grab them. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Paul. And good morning to Wendell.
Morning.
So, first of all, I found the closing ceremony of the Olympic Games this year was much better than the opening ceremony. So I sat down for many, many, many hours and that glued to that television. So
I thought it was boring.
Not at all. I don't know what people call boring, was exciting. Nothing is please nobody, but they do their own show for themselves. So, you know, a lot, because we only sent out 17 athletes to the Olympic Games, and that's a small contingent compared to years gone by. But I have heard the Minister for Sports said many times on our radio talk program that these sporting organizations, some of these sporting organizations, do not do their duty, their what's supposed to do, like getting their development plan in place, setting out what they think the strategies for how many years, if it's a 1 year, how many long years. They don't do it on time, and in some cases don't do it at all. And in that case, if you don't submit things, how they want to get money, how they know what things cost. So some of them go back to the organization empty-handed. So, I mean, every year we hear anything over. So if this sport, what about basketball? I don't hear about basketball again, women's basketball. I can't tell you, last year I hear we representing the Caribbean women and men going to a Caribbean basketball competition. I can't tell you, last year I hear about table tennis. Where are these sports again? You don't hear about these things.
And netball.
Yeah.
When netball start back to revamp, you know, but oh gosh, what happened to these people, you know?
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
All
the best. Good morning. Lots of calls. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Good morning to all. I wanted to point out something that I've been keeping a tab of recent. And I want to tell you, with the 3 killings on Sunday morning, that would have bring the total to 9 members of the resistance gang who would have been killed by police in less than 2 months. So it just goes to show that the police do have information on gang members and how they do operate. Now, I want to put in the public domain that there is a...
But you know what you're also saying there, right?
No, I am not in support. I want to tell you, Wendell, I was not in support in the extrajudicial killing, but we await. There's a body who will carry out the investigation. Whenever there's police involved killing, I think it's the PTA, I think PSC.
Oh, you are waiting? Okay, you are waiting.
Yeah, we are waiting. Yeah, Paul, we have to wait. Well, Dr. Paul, you want me and you to go and investigate it? You want us to use the authority?
No. I'm just saying that you have great confidence and are awaiting the investigations as you should.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I awaited investigations into the one by Twin Towers 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends
I
on
wait an investigation into the MOVA one. I wait. Yes, no, still waiting. So you're waiting.
No, the MOVA one we saw person's charge.
Yeah. And where's that case?
There's 2 or 3 officers were charged.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the
I
central
also,
bank one.
so while I am not in support of extrajudicial killing, but I'm just keeping a tab in terms of the
And
numbers.
the St.
So this
Augustine
gang
one.
have 9 members who would have been killed over a 2-month period. And this is the resistance gang. Moving along quickly. Wendell, why are you upset and disgusted by someone who is obnoxious?
Oh,
If
gosh.
you are obnoxious, you will be obnoxious.
Yeah, but you know, the man have a little knowledge, right? Let's face it, especially in swimming. But he just shot. Are we talking about that person?
Yes.
All right. But he just shouting and insulting. And I thought I was the only one noticing it until a lot of other people started posting it.
I know your good friend, Dr. Paul, I can tell you, sometimes he has to cock his ears in the Senate.
Is that true, Paul?
I want to say, in
Quickly.
terms of commendation to all our athletes who participated, and moreover, it's that you pointed out with Kishon Walcott, who would have gotten an accident and came. Let me just point out to some people, because I've seen some messages on social media. He came 7th in the world in terms of javelin. He was placed 7th. I just wanted to point out that. And of course, we saw the run with the US team in terms of the Olympics where basketball is concerned. They are actually super winners. But congratulations to all our team members. We have 4 years to go to the drawing board, get the minister on board, get private sector, get everybody on board in terms of where we are going to get our next medal from. Okay, have a good morning.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for bringing to the front burner something that I have been trying to do for years and been chastised for it, criticized for it, condemned for it, which is highlighting the recurring story that the TTPS gives us, and everybody just buys it. Even your last caller who seems to believe that the police know who the gangs is, when they just, all they need to do when they to justify the extra judicial killing is just say they were from X gang.
And when you make a statement like all they can say to justify their extrajudicial killing, you have evidence to support that it's actually an extrajudicial killing, or is that an assumption you're making?
Okay, let me rephrase, Paul, because your narcissism does always analyze words.
My narcissism, okay, not yours.
Yes,
You're making statements that you can't substantiate, but because I correct you, is narcissistic.
Give me the opportunity to correct myself, to rephrase my Paul.
Okay. Let you say what you want.
So hold on, didn't they report yesterday in that shooting that the police vehicle was shot, had 3 bullet holes in it, was shot 3 times?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it.
Well, and then they can report that, as they have often done. But unless I see CCTV footage or body cam footage, I cannot substantiate that narrative either.
True.
And you're right, Paul.
So while I understand what Nemesis is saying, when he said that the police are saying X amount to justify the extrajudicial killings, he's made a statement that it is an extrajudicial killing.
Yeah, that's a fact. He's making a statement of fact. Yeah.
So I don't know how narcissism coming that unless maybe he has evidence to support that. I don't know.
But here's another perspective. The crematorium is that stretch there, and the crematorium is a place where they continuously find heads and bodies and all the different things. I wonder if that area has CT cameras set up. You understand?
Yeah. Last time I went, I didn't see it. I was looking.
I have never seen it when I passed it to get from Caroni to the highway. I've never seen it. But for a place that always finding bodies, people use it as a dumping ground. I find it strange that I've never seen any CT cameras on that stretch of road. Right?
All right.
But Wendell, gentlemen, I want to while you all focus on the positives of the Olympics, I have seen some blatant racism goes on in the Olympics that I haven't heard you all spoke about, right? When the finalists for the karate competition, which is a black man, hit
I saw that.
A kick.
Yes.
And a referee who didn't feel the lash, judges who did not feel the lash, could disqualify him because he apparently hit too hard.
Yeah, I saw that. That's so stupid.
I don't know what is going on internationally, but I would seriously beg somebody to answer the question: what is hitting too hard in karate? And why wasn't the female boxer, who her opponent said she has never been hit so hard in her life, why wasn't she disqualified for hitting too hard? So one sport you could hit too hard, but the other sport where black people is involved, you can't hit too hard.
Yeah, there were some allegations.
Franchise. How this Jamaican runner was disenfranchised from entering the stadium because they changed the rules the day before her event that she was expected to win gold on. It's glaring in the racism seems to be glaring in sport. Here, putting the word there to justify things seems to be glaring to disenfranchise people of color in this 2024.
Well, it didn't work.
All right. Thank you.
It didn't work at all.
Thank you.
Over and over again.
All right, Steve, I got.
Yeah. All right. Let's get in the headlines, gentlemen.
It's Monday, the 12th of August, 2024. Let's start with the Express. Medal-less. It ended as a medal-less showing for TNT in back-to-back Olympic campaigns in Paris and also in Tokyo 2020. 49 Venezuelans held for illegal entry. 3 killed by police, including a 21-year-old mother of a 2-year-old girl. Water supply returns early. THA worker held. Augustine fined them and jailed them. Crazy hits track, ending games bid, and rising crime in Arima, a concern for businesses. Let's move now to The Guardian. A human interest story, Charmaine's transformation. It took 24 surgeries and 60 hours of operating for a team of American doctors to remove hundreds of growths from TNT citizen Charmaine Sahadio's face and body. Scotland promises crackdown on extortionists. Pradial lasting officers hurt in priority bus route crash. The front page of The Guardian is deadly encounter. Police link 2 killed in Caroni shootout with resistance gang. Woodland residents get training to combat flooding. Trio killed in Caroni shootout. And works associated with the shutdown of Caroni water treatment plant completed. Let's move to the news day now. Nicholas Paul ousted in Karen quarters, says time to wind down and reset. Nurses to decide in lawsuit against health minister. Cascade triple murder killer seeks freedom. UNC were property tax evaluators trained. Activist takes speaker to court over refusal to appear in the House.
Ravi again?
3 burnt bodies discovered over the weekend. Police killed 3 alleged gang members in Caroni, and police searching for St. Augustine gas station bandits. So those are trending stories in Express, Guardian, and Newsday for today, Monday, the 12th of August, 2024.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Let's get the results of our morning poll from Friday, where we asked you, should the Hunters and Search Rescue Team be given a national award? Of course, over the weekend, they found a missing pensioner. So kudos to you guys. The results are in. 93%, 93 said yes.
Did you ever see the embroidery that's evolved from the rescue, the successful find of the man who was missing, and his family's responses to queries about the stories?
You mean the guy who went Venezuela, who the kidnapped guy Venezuela?
Apparently, yes.
No, I haven't seen anything.
No, I haven't as well.
Quite a lot of social media back and forth. Anyway, a lot of emphasis being placed on sport, no doubt, as the Olympics have closed. The Caribbean as a whole has copped 23 medals, with Jamaica, Puerto Rico, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, all getting medals.
Mm-hmm.
TNT has for the second Olympics come away with no medals,
Mm-hmm.
prompting questions from the public and also from the TNT Olympic Committee's President Diane Henderson about support from the powers that be, as she says, and the sporting organizations. But of course, we are asking this morning, based on Wendell's poll,
All right. So there's our poll. Give us a call. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans. 866-525-1099 on WhatsApp at 3181021. Of course, on Facebook and YouTube. Our morning poll. Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective Minister of Sport? Yes.
End right
or
there.
no.
All
Yeah.
right.
Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister?
I could change it, you know. You want me to put even
No,
shorter?
I know you wanted to
All right.
lengthen it, so
That's all right. You can leave that there.
I see a lengthen. That's
All right. So yes or no. That's our poll this morning. Do you think she's effective? Here we go. Good morning. Oh, well said. All right.
I'm going to get my coffee. I need my coffee.
No problem.
Or she
You go
could
ahead.
send one for me too. All right. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Wendell.
Morning.
How you doing, Mr. Paul and Mr. Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
She's effective. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Radio. Let's go to WhatsApp and see what we get. My mouse is sticking. I don't know what is going on here. There's a rat in the thing. Okay. Mr. Seawing says no. Good morning, GNC Auto Security. Dan Raj. Okay, these are all just hellos. Thank you so much for your hellos. Captain Ron, who is in Nebraska this morning, says no. All right. Let's see. Ooh, okay, I need a school. Look at messages. So much I didn't see. Where am I starting from?
Start
Starting from Richard P. Knight.
Richard Knight.
Yes. Brent Hackshaw. No. Boy Bedesi. Yes. Hanif Daniel. No. Vianney Warwood. Yes. Julia S. Batiste. No. David Wares. No. Jess Archer Kennedy. No. Ian Lee. Yes. MS. Yes. Catherine Henry. No. Andrew Reno. Yes. What says you, caller?
Yeah, morning, fellas.
Morning.
Yeah, the minister effective, but the program, because the minister providing funding for all the top athletes and them getting $100,000 funding every year. So the organization and them to manage and work and run better program, and we as the national need to go out and support the programs where they put on. We don't go out and fill the stadium and support the athletes and them, and we trying now. We have everybody,
Thank you.
the whole nation have a role to play. You know, that's not the sporting body alone. You know.
Yeah, caller, you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
And we're going to poll that before the end of the week about the support from the public. We're going to
All right.
poll that.
Val says yes. Anne-Marie says no. Finbar Collins says yes. Slick Money Grip, yes. Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Yes or no? All right. 222-8255. Toll free. North Americans, 866-525-1099. Of course, that's our numbers directly into our studio. Michael Robinson says no. All right. Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Yes or no? Of course, next hour, we're going to have the former head of the Olympic Committee, Brian Lewis, on.
Oh, Alderman Lewis? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just got
right.
it. All right. Glad to know that cricket will be in for the next Olympics.
I better go and try and make the Olympics, right? The Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
What's
hoping
what discipline?
No.
Cricket.
Oh, cricket. Okay.
You talk about pole vaulting.
I thought it was pole
Oh,
vaulting.
geez, I'm
I thought it was going to be pole vaulting. You know, we have some special skill.
I could do pole vaulting too.
I thought a couple of the best photos I saw of the Olympics was the surfer, and of course another surfer with a humpback whale that's breached the water. I thought it was two fantastic pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
I am hoping, God willing, that I will be in the next Olympics, even if it is as a spectator. I'm hoping.
It's in LA.
It's LA, yeah.
All right. Black Pearl. Good morning to Black Pearl. Black Pearl says yes.
Yes.
All right. This mouse, I tell you. Right. Ish out in Malik says no. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
The minister is an effective minister. You know. The most she could do is really give sport or the organization money when they ask for. But they're not.
That's fine. But so you think she's effective? That's fine.
Huh?
So it's a yes.
So you think she's effective, and that's fine.
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you, caller.
Okay.
All right. Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Of course, our poll will stay on our website and on our app, which you should have by now. This is what Paul wanted to.
Sure, Zina ain't calling this morning. Zina do like short.
Somebody must be done wake up Champa and say, hey, they polling here. Oh, breakfast show. And you're no good, they're going to misrepresent.
Good morning, Minister.
Right?
Thank you for
I
joining.
am sure we won't be the only media outlet doing this kind of poll this morning.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Minister,
let's not carry our heads in the sand. And as I said before, it is not the minister alone, you know. We have to take a look at sport generally in this country.
Which is what we are going to do. Which is why I said we're going to take the advice of our caller just now, who also talk about our support for it, us, we the public support for these games and so on. Because I was on the stadium not too long ago and there was barely anybody there. The people who were there are the people who are associated with the actual runners.
Exactly, their families and their friends and the schoolmates. Yeah, that's basically what
it.
But let me tell you, Jamaica is also taking a serious look at their performance. As successful as we know they've been, they are very upset with their performance this year.
And they had a lot of mishaps. It's not just the absenteeism and the injuries.
They
had a lot of mishaps.
What's this? Nemesis was right. I think there were some instances of blatant racism at the Olympics.
Yeah.
All right. Colin Jack says no to the poll. And with that cue, let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. AV is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
3 people killed by police in Caroni. THA worker arrested in Tobago. Keith Scotland promises to crack down on extortionists. No Olympic Games medals for Trinidad and Tobago in Paris. And the Met Service monitors disturbed weather. Details in a moment. This is news at 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. 3 people were killed by police in Caroni yesterday morning, including a 21-year-old mother of a 2-year-old girl. The 3 have been identified as 21-year-old Gia Jody Barath, 17-year-old Amir Pa Bisoon, and Joseph Ramjit. Police alleged they were connected to the resistance gang. However, their relatives yesterday described them as quiet people who were targeted by police. Their deaths brought the number of people killed during police-involved shootings for the year so far to 25. Barath and Bisoon lived near to each other at Samaru Lane off Dookie Singh Street, St. Augustine, while Ramjit lived at Kalpur Street, Spring Village, Valsain. Police reports indicate that at around 4:40 a.m., officers of the North Central Division Task Force were in a marked vehicle on patrol along Caroni Savannah Road when they received information about a white Nissan Almera car being used to transport guns. Officers spotted the vehicle near the Caroni cremation site as it headed east. Police say they used their siren and blue swivel lights to try to get the approaching car to stop, but instead the Almera collided with the front of the police SUV and ran off the road. Police said as the car stopped, someone in the vehicle began firing at them, and as a result, officers returned fire. When they approached the vehicle, Bisoon was in the driver's seat, Bharat was in the front passenger seat, and Ramjit was in the back seat, all suffering gunshot wounds about their bodies. Police took them to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Mount Hope, where they were pronounced dead on arrival at around 5:14 a.m. Police say they also retrieved a Glock gun and ammunition from the car. Find them and jail them. That's the comment of Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Fali Augustine in response to Saturday's arrest of a THA employee. According to police reports, at approximately 6:13 p.m., officers of the Tobago Divisional Task Force were on mobile patrol along Joe Field Trace Lambo when they had cause to intercept a heavily tinted Mitsubishi Lancer, seemingly trying to evade them. When they searched the vehicle, they found what they described as a troubling array of illegal items. The items included a Glock 9mm, 15 rounds of ammunition, 613 grams of marijuana, 97 ecstasy or Zessa pills, 410 TT dollars, 14 US dollars, 100 EC dollars, a pair of shortwave radios, a vacuum sealer, a ski mask, a digital scale, and 27 Digicel SIM cards. Police immediately arrested a male suspect as he had no driver's permit and the car was not registered to him. In a statement yesterday posted to social media, police described the man as an employee of the Chief Secretary's office. In response, also posted to social media, Augustine replied that there is a difference between the office of the Chief Secretary and the Chief Secretary office employee. He criticized what he described as a, quote, poorly or perhaps maliciously faulty headline, end quote, which he said suggested that staff assigned to the Chief Secretary was arrested. He emphasized that no staff belonging to or assigned to the Chief Secretary was arrested. Augustine, in a subsequent post, wrote the suspect started prior to 2018, long before he became Chief Secretary. He also said the suspect had been recently absent from work for an extended period. Business owners in Chaguanas are concerned about instances of extortion in the borough, and they're appealing for help from the relevant authorities. President of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Baldath Maharaj, speaking at a function held by the organization recently, which was attended by Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Keith Scotland, said the development is serious.
On Wednesday, I received another call where a businessman was asked to pay $150,000. So he left, and he's in the process now of trying to make up money to pay to these extortioners.
In response, Minister Scotland said he welcomed feedback by business operators. Their input, he said, will be passed on to the police service and a proper plan developed.
Within the next 3 weeks, I want to set a time for it where you tell me what your views are. We write it down. I invite the commissioner and the DCPs, and we come with you and we come up with a plan.
Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez has declared the recent shutdown at the Water and Sewage Authority Caroni Water Treatment Plant a success as works were completed and operations restarted ahead of schedule on Sunday. The shutdown was to facilitate critical electrical work and was expected to last from midday August 9th to midday August 11th. A WASA release on Sunday said work concluded and operations restarted at 8 a.m. at the South System and at 10 a.m. at the North System. No Olympic Games medals for Trinidad and Tobago at the end of the prestigious event, which climaxed on Sunday in Paris. However, some of the high points of the Games were Olympic two-time medalist and javelin thrower Keyshawn Walcott placing 7th in the men's finals. Jareem Richards finished 4th in the men's 400-meter finals. Cyclist Nicholas Paul reached the quarterfinals in the men's sprint and Kieran events. The English-speaking Caribbean copped 11 medals at the recently concluded games. Jamaica went from 9 to 6 medals between 2020 and 2024. The Caribbean also saw 2 Caribbean islands winning medals for the first time. St. Lucia and Dominica athlete brought medals to their respective countries for the first time. Grenada's athletes earned 2 bronze medals, Lyndon Victor in the men's decathlon and Anderson Peters in the men's javelin throw. Meanwhile, the United States won the total medal count with 126, including 40 gold, 42 silver, and 44 bronze. China placed second in the total medal race with 91 40 gold, 27 silver, and 24 bronze. Japan was third with 20 gold medals and 45 overall. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service says it's monitoring an area of disturbed weather near 48 degrees west or approximately 1,530 kilometers east-southeast of Antigua. At 5 p.m. Sunday, August 11th, the system was moving toward the west-northwest near 21 miles per hour, and this motion is expected to continue during the next couple of days. On the forecast track, the disturbance is expected to move across portions of the Leeward Islands on Tuesday and approach the U.S. and British Virgin Islands on Tuesday night. Well, speaking about weather, let's find out what our weather would be like for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, partly cloudy to cloudy periods with scattered showers, especially from mid-morning. There's also a medium chance of thunderstorm activity. Tonight will be generally settled, apart from lingering isolated showers. Street or flash flooding and gusty winds will likely occur in the event of heavy downpours. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 30 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it is 26 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 27 at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, 3 people killed by police in Caroni. THA worker arrested in Tobago. Keith Scotland promises to crack down on extortionists. No Olympic Games medals for Trinidad and Tobago in Paris, and the Met Service monitors disturbed weather. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You could join her again at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Quickly take a look at what's happening on highways and byways. Usual, Santa Rosa by Trinity City, but at least you're moving. And after you wait straight into Port of Spain, you go. Take a look at the Solo. Leaving south on the Solo towards Claxton Bay volume, and just after Coover towards Sugar Guanas, you've got some traffic. But after that, it's pretty much clear towards the interchange and into Port of Spain. All right. So let's see if we have any more votes in our morning poll. We asked, do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Let's see. Let's see.
No more came in after the news.
No more. We had Ish, Colin Jack, Marjorie, Roberto, Rena Boodoo Jennings. Rena Boodoo Jennings, I totally agree with you. Totally. Oh.
We have Wayne Lala.
Ernesto is now a hurricane? I have to dig up on that. Wayne Lala says no.
All right.
All right, so let's get the results. Wendell, of course, and Randy Kelly just popped in and said no. Of course, our guest is the former head of the Olympic Committee. Well,
yeah.
Randy.
So just before I do the results, my apologies. I clean forgot birthdays, and how could I? Because it is my sister's birthday. Claire Joseph is celebrating her birthday today. It's also the birthday of Sankofa. He is celebrating. He and his twin brother celebrating their birthdays today. And Robert Taylor is also celebrating his birthday today. He listens to us from out there in Florida. Claire Gomez Miller, Virendra Maharaj, Mike Coppin, who's an attorney at law, Marissa Noel, all celebrating birthdays today.
All right.
Yesterday was the birthday of Mrs. Hazel Manning. She celebrated her birthday yesterday, so belated birthday.
Lunch was amazing.
Yeah, yesterday, of course, was the anniversary.
All right.
Of the
Let's get the results. Our guest is online already.
All right. Let me don't rush me. I know Brian could wait 2 seconds. And the result is a dead heat. Do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Dead heat, 14-all. And Brian Lewis will now break that tie with our question.
Good morning.
Brian, morning.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're good. Alderman Lewis.
How you doing, Brian?
Apologies.
Beg pardon?
I said Alderman Lewis, my apologies.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
Brian, don't sleep, you know.
I didn't see him in Pan last night, though.
Ah, you were looking in the wrong places. I was very much there.
I was on the ground with the people.
Nice
You were up in the
story of
VIP
your life.
area.
I was. That's why you didn't see me. I was in Port of Spain from 12 o'clock, all on Duke Street, listening to the Pan Around the Necks, and we eventually left there, me and some friends, just before the rains came down again, maybe after 7.
That is when Despos was playing.
A good time in the you know, it was good.
It was great.
World Steel Pan Day.
Yeah. So Brian, our poll, do you think the Minister of Sport is effective?
I think so.
All right. So you just broke the tie. But I think so is not an answer.
At the end of the day, a minister, any minister, regardless of which party is in power, is responsible for policy and the implementation of that policy. A lot of the other aspects, and this is something that people tend to forget, and because we are a country where people don't want to accept accountability and always looking for a scapegoat, a lot of the responsibility for sport in the country resides in the national governing bodies, which have been given the jurisdiction by their respective international bodies, which, as you all know, and these international bodies broke, whether it is the IOC, FIFA, broke no interference in their, what they call their autonomy and the running of their affairs. So I sometimes say, and people don't like to hear it, and I get blows because I'm a defender of this and a defender of that and a lot of this. But a lot of the questions that have to be asked need to be asked of the national governing bodies.
But you said policy, but also resources, including infrastructure. Brian, good morning, Brian. You said policy, but also resources and infrastructure, including financial and infrastructure. The minister can also supply that in addition to policy.
What's that?
I said the minister is also responsible for resources, including infrastructure.
Yeah.
At some levels. But you said policy earlier, so I was just clarifying.
No, but anyway, let's not go down there, Senator. I know, I understand what you're saying, but I still remain firm in that, in addition to the accountability and questions for accountability, you have national governing bodies, you have sport company, and you have all other entities that can be given responsibilities for implementation, executed. That's all I'm saying. I'm
not disagreeing with you. Of course, we said earlier on this morning that very often people default to the minister and the minister, but in the realm of sport, the governing bodies, whether it be hockey, football, cricket, swimming, their governing bodies are also very much in charge of developmental programs, ensuring there's continuity, a stream of athletes, exposing them to the right coaches, having audited financials so the ministry can know that when they give them money, it's going in the right place, all of that. So you're absolutely right. And this is not the first time we've heard about this issue with the governing bodies. What do you think? What is your assessment of our performance in the Olympics 2024 to start with? Let's start with that.
In terms of Paris 2024?
Yes.
I think that there would have been, going into Paris 2024, realistic expectation that we would have medaled in a couple events. I would have, me personally, as being the person who authored 10 goal by 2024 10 years ago, notwithstanding COVID, going into this game, I would have had reasonable expectations that we would have medaled in track and field and cycling in particular. But that did not happen. But I think what is important going forward, and this is my big issue, I have no problems with criticism. In fact, I take criticisms, whether destructive, constructive, or personal, as an opportunity to provide clarity. But as I was telling a very good friend a short while ago, Trinidad and Tobago is a country where we want to achieve things, but we don't want to pay the price. So everybody wants a gold medal. But when you talk about the gold medals and going for gold medals and what it takes, people laugh at you and say that you're unrealistic, not understanding that gold medals don't happen in a vacuum.
What is the price of a gold medal?
Beg pardon?
What is the price of a gold medal?
And that is a very valid question. Why I say that, Senator? Let's take the guy from Pakistan who won the gold medal. His support came from his village. If you take America, they spend millions of dollars to achieve a gold medal. Same thing with England, same thing with bigger countries. You take a country like St. Lucia, which everybody is using as an example, and Julian Alfred left Jamaica at 14, St. Lucia at 14. Who would send their 14-year-old away to go to Jamaica, and then she went to UTech. Julian Alfred, from a little girl, aspired to be an Olympic gold medalist because she was inspired by Usain Bolt. So she had a dream and a goal, but they had to decide, given what St. Lucia has, that at the age of 14, which is a critical period for her, she was sent on a scholarship to high school in Jamaica at the age of 14.
Well, and why was she sent on a scholarship specifically to Jamaica?
Because St. Lucia didn't have well, let me just not put it in a negative way. Jamaica was considered, and is still considered, even though they are currently having a lot of debate because they didn't perform as expected at Paris 2024. It's perceived of having one of the best system, especially in their high schools, with the Boys and Girls Championship, to prepare you for greatness.
And I'm being very specific. What do you mean by they have the best system for preparing you for? What do you mean by they have the best system for preparing an athlete?
In
What
terms
do
of
you mean by
Jamaica, their high school championship program, their program in track and field in particular, which starts from pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, into their high schools, into their Boys and Girls Championship, is established as so that you even get internationally coaches, etc., going to the Boys and Girls Champs in Jamaica, which has like about 25,000 people to scout for talent.
Tell them leave you alone.
Yeah, they're distracting you.
Tell them they're distracting you.
Beg pardon?
They're distracting
whoever
you.
is messaging you is distracting you.
Yeah, in terms of Jamaica?
No, I said whoever is messaging you now is distracting you.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to get them to to stay quiet.
All right.
Please, I will do that. So, could you keep quiet? I'm doing a live and they're picking up the noises in the background. Thank you. There we go. My apologies. That's live for you, right?
Okay. You will
Come on,
lie,
man,
yes.
Wendell, you know it is.
I know it is.
Yeah. So, but what I want from you, and you're going down the right road, is helping people to understand the price of a gold medal is not overnight. It is
Correct,
a
of
particular
course.
development. It's a nurturing, identification of talent, nurturing and development,
Right.
exposing
course.
to the highest levels of training and coaching
Of
and
course.
competition around the world, so that when they get on that global Olympic stage, they're ready.
Right. But what I was really answering, maybe in a roundabout, when I do apologize for appearing to meander, was your question about what it will cost. And what I was attempting to highlight is that there are different pathways. And if I come back to Jamaica, which I add, of course, there's a lot of criticism and contention going on now in Jamaica. Of course, not having gotten the results they have come to anticipated. Most of their medals came in the field. Usually, so what they would do is that after they come boys and girls, they also created not just the NCAA, but MVP and racers and nowhere that go where they have clubs dedicated to being professionals and dedicated for excellence, which is where Usain Bolt and them. So I'm saying that there are different pathways to get Olympic gold. But at the end of the day, as a start point, you have to aspire, want it, and then work back from here. And that is what I was saying in the context of us not wanting to pay that price.
I told you all, I promised you all a story next week, God willing. Next week, Monday, more than likely, or someday next week, I'm going to give you all a story that is, I know is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to wait till then to give it. Because they always say, never let anyone know what you're doing until it's done, right? So I'll give that story next week, God willing. God spare my life. But Brian, going back to the Minister of Sport, do you think that, I mean, I understand the response in terms of her effectiveness. Once she's providing the resources and so on, then that is considered effective. But do you think that she can be more vocal and visible, which is what I have a problem with?
Well, insofar as any minister is constrained by government, a government's policy, if you look at what is currently in place, and this would have gone back even before, I mean, different ministers, Annie Roberts, Gary Hunt, Brent Sancho. So if you look at it in context, if we focus primarily on what we're talking about, there's the Elite Athlete Assistance Program, there is grant funding, there is the Sport and Cultures Fund, there is a sport company where you have the 15 so-called major sports are under sport company. There is a sport company and an elite division with trainers, psychologists, an elite gym, etc. There are stadiums across the country. There is a world-class cycling venue which would have come across administrations. So the basics from a policy perspective are there. A lot of people I have heard would say, and I've seen surveys from time to time, that education and national security are more important than sport.
Well, I'll tell you something, Ed Brian, from my experiences over the years, right? Both as a politician and as somebody who follows sport very closely, right? To me, we politicians miss opportunities to inspire young people by going out there and sitting amongst them, showing up. When you pass by these fields around where's Savannah, the Queen's Park Savannah, Mandela Park, you see so many young people go out there trying their best, but we not there supporting them. The people who, when they look around, they see mommy or daddy or little brother or little sister. That's who they see. They want to
Yeah,
see.
but Wendell, the guy who won the bronze medal for Jamaica, Rajendra Campbell, he works part-time in Domino's in the States.
Right.
As we just heard, the guy from Pakistan who won the gold medal, right? You read a story, go and read it, Google it. It came. Hear what I'm saying. The organizations, in my view, and I do have to be correct, right? I came up through the ranks from rugby, different things at that level. The responsibility for developing your sports, developing your national teams, building awareness, marketing your sports, having a program that is geographic, resides in the national sport organization and national governing body. Insofar as there is resources in place by any government, then their responsibility is to access whatever resources are available by meeting the criteria that is required, whether that is for audited accounts, whether that is for having a development program, etc. That is the responsibility of the National Sport Organization and national governing body. It is also their responsibility to also broaden their revenue base, go out to the public, go out to sponsors, have a product that will attract financial resources.
How would you respond then to those who say, Brian Lewis, that we have not medaled in 2024, we did not medal in 2020, but we medaled in 2016 and 2012. What changed? What is the difference now?
I would say the difference then was the pool of athletes that they had. Quite frankly. Bad manners. The pool of athletes they had. Now, a question could be asked in how was that transition managed? Because as we know, the shelf life of athletes, you know that, Wendell, you know that, Steve and Senator, is 30, 35. By the time you start to hit your 30s, you're going against the grain. All right? What is coming behind? Where is the nursery? What is the development perspective that is producing that nursery? Again, that comes down to the national governing bodies, in this case, NAAAs, aquatics, cycling, etc. Right? And it is to them. When you talk about, you look at the athletes we had in that period and where they would have come out from, there were signs that they would have gone on, because even the Renneco that people now saying all kinds of negative things about was a junior. They performed at the world junior level. Kishon, world junior champion. What I'm saying is that the signs are there, from Carifta into world junior. Julian Alfred, NCAA, world champion. Richard Thompson, NCAA champion. That's the reality. As you quite
right, if in your, and I'm not disagreeing with you, the primary responsibility comes down to the governing bodies, and we are so inconsistent. What mechanism can or should be put in place to ensure that these governing bodies are fulfilling the mandate for talent identification, nurturing, development, and then exposing to training at a high level so that we can compete and we can have that succession planning? Because you're right, when somebody is medaling now in the US, they have 3 and 4 people lining up because they know, for example, with Usain Bolt, he spanned 3 Olympics performing very well, but his time was coming to an end. So Jamaica has that nursery. What is the mechanism that should be in place to ensure that these governing bodies, who are receiving funding from the state and in some instances from private sector, to be fulfilling that mandate?
I would say there are different answers. You know what I mean? First thing, I always believe public pressure and the court of public opinion and accountability. If the government is providing funding, the implementation of whatever criteria, if sponsors are providing funding, the implementation of whatever agreed key performance indicators and criteria. But at the end of the day, the ultimate accountability resides with the voters, meaning the members of the respective national governing bodies, clubs, or whoever, who have a responsibility to hold their leaders to account and use the power of their votes to change it. That change needs to be. What I'm saying is that, and I have been speaking from a governance perspective, people in general, who have to, if you're a member of NTAs, if you're a member of the affiliated to the TTOC, to cycling, to aquatics, to cricket, to football, it is the clubs and members and affiliates that have the voting right that have to enforce that accountability. And where they aren't doing it, of course, like in everything else, even governments, public pressure.
What is the role of the TTOC?
Beg pardon?
What you are former president of the TTOC. What's the role of
Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee and the Trinidad and Tobago Commonwealth Games Association has sole and exclusive jurisdiction for these events only. And the selection of a team for these events: Olympic Games, Junior Olympics, Winter Olympics, Commonwealth Games, Junior Commonwealth Games, Pan Am Games, Caribbean Games, and Central American and Caribbean Games. Full stop.
So why the emphasis on the word only then? Because it seems that that's a broad responsibility to ensure that we are well represented.
Correct. Yeah. Well, why I say only? Because that's what that is actually what the Olympic Charter said. So, for example, the Olympic Charter also says that the TTOC has to respect the autonomy of the respective sport federations that are governed by their international federation.
Mm-hmm. So DL is actually alluding to something that I also wanted to ask. Is it that we are making good use of the resources that we are getting from the Ministry of Sport? Are these organizations making good use of the resources?
Obviously, some of them aren't, Wendell, truth be told. Mm-hmm. And obviously, some of them aren't being held to the highest standard of transparency and accountability.
You see, I can't forget, Brian, and I don't think this country will ever forget, Live Sport, which was a well-oiled criminal enterprise. We can't forget that, you know.
What's that?
Live Sport.
That really is for the parliament and the
No, it's for the public.
Why he go down a road there now? Let's stay on track. We're talking about
we talking. No, but we are talking.
Let's stay on track.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for the protection of the chair.
Oh gosh, Wendell.
We are talking about the use of resources.
It was abuse of funds. It was this. It was that. We're talking about now and the future. Come on, Wendell.
Senator Dr. the Honorable Paul Richards. We are talking about the use of resources. The country needs to be reminded of that. So it's not always about money, clearly. It's how it's the people who managing it. A lot of the people who managing it, mismanaging it, Brian. That's the reality.
Wendell, you are entitled to your opinion, right? Mm-hmm. But the point I would like to focus on, I don't have enough information, to be very honest with you, to make an informed statement or judgment on things that may have happened in the past. My focus is Paris 2024 and the questions that you all are rightly asking on behalf
Like
of
sport was that.
And what went wrong? What went wrong in 2020, which is why we have had 2 Olympic Games without, some Olympic Games without a
Like
medal.
sport caused that too.
And what can be done or what will be done to learn from mistakes, correct what has to be corrected, so that Los Angeles 2028 and Brisbane 2032, we will have medals.
In 2028, if we're here, we're not going to bring up like sport again.
As Atto Bolden has, in his firm view, stated that we will undergo if changes aren't made.
And I don't know if you're all misunderstanding me, but we were talking about resources, the use of resources. And I was just showing an example that it's not always about resources. That's all. So Brian, next question. How do we prepare for Los Angeles 2028? What would you suggest?
The preparation,
what would be your recommendations?
The preparation for Los Angeles 2028 ought to have started 4 years ago. Because usually, as I would have tried to articulate at the time when people were laughing me out, that you need 10 to 15 years, a runway to develop Olympic champions. So we are at the point now where if we don't start now, then we will miss the boat for LA 2028. For example, there is a Carifta Games supposed to be held in Trinidad and Tobago next year, Wendell.
Yes.
Which is going to be important because whether it is Usain Bolt and others, you go way back, all the other countries use their Carifta Games as a gauge for the future.
Right.
I'm not sure what is the status of the Aisley Crawford Stadium. Ahead of that may be a question that needs to be asked, because those potential athletes for Carifta, which is important if we talk in 2028, right?
Right.
Need to have access to facilities to properly prepare for that.
Yes.
Next year is World Track and Field Championship, Senator Steve and Wendell. Our athletes who are based here, who come back here, need to have facilities to train. They need to have access to the gym at sport company and all these gyms. I'm saying, while yes, quite rightly people want to fire this one and fire that one, again, I think the assumption there is that national governing bodies, leaders, including the TTOC, are paid salaries. They aren't. That does not mean that that is an excuse for mediocrity. Mm-hmm. But while we are focusing on those things, there are details that we need to focus on. We have per capita, certainly in the Caribbean, the most facilities than any other country. Even if not just the stadia, our cycling velodrome is the best, one of the best in the hemisphere, our aquatic center. If you look at the number of lit recreational grounds around the country, there is literally no excuse why, absent of human resource challenges, which is a key part of development of coaches, etc., and athletes, that national governing bodies should not have programs running in every nook and cranny of Trinidad and Tobago that will facilitate talent identification. Because as it currently stands, a little boy or girl in the rural area would literally need a divine intervention or some person to identify their talent to bring them to the fore, a la Keyshawn Walcott, a la all the athletes in Point Forte, going to start work in South and trouble at-risk communities. I'm simply saying that the North-centric base of our sport organizations must radically change as a first step.
Yeah.
There is talent outside of Port of Spain and the main urban centers of Trinidad and Tobago. Access to facilities. Those are the basic stats.
You mentioned a while ago, Brian, in the conversation.
Pardon?
That you mentioned a while ago in the conversation that national security and education get the largest shares.
I'm saying what people tend to say. I've seen surveys. I remember once where we had a survey about the cancellation of Caribbean Games in 2009, and they were asked a question on one of the major networks, and 99% of the people said they agreed with it, not understanding the importance of events like the Commonwealth Youth Games, Carifta, and major sporting events.
But I was going to add that I don't see investment in education, if we think of education in an holistic way, anathema to investment in sport, because sport is no longer extracurricular or should not be considered extracurricular. It is part of effective education. It is also part of effective national security. Because
I agree with you. And Ministry of Health. And Ministry of Health.
And health. Because if we focus a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old on sport, studies have shown they do better academically because they understand discipline, they understand teamwork, they understand hard work and consistency. It also focuses them on positive activity, and it also makes them healthier. So I don't see that if we have holistic policies in education, that it is part of the identification, development, and nurturing process that you described earlier on.
Senator, can I just say this, my friends? I have had the experience, personal experience, of a number of significant business and corporate entities in Trinidad and Tobago in the course of a rejection of a sport-oriented proposal or as a justification that have told me, and I won't name them, that they are no longer investing in sport because their focus is youth development and education. I, Brian Anthony Courtney Lewis, have had that experience on this Twin Island Republic of Trinidad.
And it's that kind of abject stupidity and backward thinking that we're battling with in this country.
Yeah.
That they don't understand investment in holistic education is investment in part in sport.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to know why we have a crime problem.
Mm-hmm.
We have a crime problem also, and this is not to get political, because a lot of the youths who may have talents in sport are considered, I myself was at that, I may not have been the best, you were considered dunce. Dunce. If you weren't good at a particular age on maths, English, whatever, but you're good in football and cricket, you were considered dunce.
But one of the American athletes,
and I was told it by a teacher, a group of us in secondary school, so I wouldn't call it secondary school out of love for my.
I'm not justifying.
Yes, we were told we would sell nuts for a living.
I understand that 30, 40 years ago. I can't understand that mindset now. I can't.
And now parents could tell you, a parent told me some years ago, not plenty years, that their child liked to play, and the teacher marked a chalk mark at recess on his forehead, and the punishment was that if he came back from recess with it off his face from the sweat, I couldn't. Well, I hope the parent would not deny it. I could tell you, put a parent onto you to confirm that happened within the last couple of years. They take children out of school, understandably, I'm not saying, to do SCA.
One of the
And
female
see,
U.S. athletes whose story is quite interesting. One of the female U.S. athletes who
what's that?
She medaled. I think she got a gold medal. I forget her name now.
Which
She
one? This
said,
in Paris?
Yeah, in Paris. She said she majored in neurobiology at Harvard and has a
Yes.
master's.
Gabby Thomas.
Gabby Thomas.
Yes.
And
Bright
said
like a bulb.
that from as early as the early grade school, sport, the involvement in sport is what focused her academics and sharpened it.
Correct.
But but the story just gave and you're right. Play is important in developing a holistic human being. Of course, everything in context, but I can't believe that's still the mentality. But as you said, the investment in holistic education is investment in sport, of course, and national security and health.
If Gabby Thomas was in Trinidad and Tobago, now her father, I think she also admit she got her athleticism, I think, from her Jamaican father. But if she was in Trinidad and Tobago, she would not have been an Olympic gold medalist.
No.
She might have had a PhD in medicine. But certainly she would have the environment and the school. I remember when my children were going to school, not to make it about me, they were very involved in sport. And I remember the school they were going to, when my daughter was about to do SCA, the principal called in my wife and I and told her that she needed to do lessons. And when we said, no, we are not taking her out of sport because she was doing fairly well in her tennis, she actually represented the country and eventually got a tennis scholarship. The teacher, the headmistress, was so annoyed to the point where she said to us almost with spitting in our face, your daughter will never pass for her first choice. As if that was the be-all and end-all of our daughter's education. And we said, my wife and I, that that's okay. Even if she passes for a second or third choice, she is not giving up her sporting activities to focus only on passing SEA. So I can also say that from personal example, the pressures you are placed under as parents to see sport as actually a hindrance to academic achievement.
Now, in the area, when we look at Paris 2024, and I want to draw into our discussion Jareem Richards, who I think represented us so well. He broke a new national record. He literally ran the best race of his life in some people's estimation. But other countries are getting faster.
Correct.
What's your perspective on that?
Correct. But I want to say something, honestly, to you guys and to the country and those who are listening. The defining moment of this Paris 2024 game, even though, let me say, somebody, a prominent writer, an intellectual in Trinidad and Tobago, sent me a message and asked, why are we glorifying a non-medal? I'm just putting that out. But I want to say this. For me personally, I respected the effort of all 17 athletes. But for me personally, the defining moment of this Paris 2024 Olympics for Trinidad Team TTO was Jareem Richards' efforts and Kwesi Brown. Why? What people don't understand is when Jareem Richards drew lane 9 and made a conscious decision that he will go all out from lane 9, he would have accepted the reality that he was going to embrace a level of pain that his body will automatically want him to stop. In fact, I saw videos online where it was, and the person was saying, one commentator was saying, this is madness. If Jareem just continues like this, he would do the 400 in 41 seconds, and that is impossible, right? And he ran and went where no other Trinidad and Tobago sprinter, from Wendell Motley, come down, Uric Boggs, Ian Morris, Marshall Cedeno, etc., have ever gone, sub 44. And Kwesi Brown, why I say Kwesi Brown, Kwesi Brown, in an effort to medal or to get into the next rounds, sacrificed his body. Surely he would have known that what he was attempting to do could have had the consequence that he endured, but he accepted it nonetheless to put his body on his line for his country. I say that not to be romantic or to glorify anything, but these young people, regardless of what results they get, are attempting to do something for Trinidad and Tobago that they need to be supported and encouraged. They're not
And
taking.
I don't understand how someone could write from there.
If I told you all offline who the person was, you all would be shocked or not shocked.
From their soft sofa, probably with a beer in their hand and a pen in the next and a computer in the next hand, could not appreciate that the sacrifices that not only Jareem but the others, but we're talking about Jareem here, took to get him there in the first place.
Correct.
Against the odds, against athletes who have a lot more resources behind them, and perform at that, make the finals. People don't understand, also qualifying for the finals is a big deal because your country is represented, because the red, white, and black was represented in the final, and that's also huge for promoting the country. And the way the commentators spoke about Jareem's race,
correct,
and his efforts, and the fact that because the race was so fast, although he broke a national record, his personal best, he didn't medal. To me, it didn't matter. Because I saw, and I think most people saw, that that young man gave his all and represented us excellently.
You know, guys, allow me the opportunity to digress just slightly. And I don't know if Brian will take a couple calls. Because I went to the Pan, and if people go Pan, you see a lot of young people engaged in Pan music now, right? And I said yesterday after that Pan, I told Harper, I say, Harper, I bet you the headline in tomorrow's newspaper is about the 3 people who get killed in Caroni and not about this Pan. And so said, so done. So which is why I just get upset. I'm in the media, going on 19 years. And I get upset when I hear people only talk about the negative things of a certain race of people. It disgusts me, no end. Because we have so many people who look just like us, who are doing so good and making so much effort. But guess what? Nobody speaks about them. Well, very rarely people speak about them. We try our best on this program. Yes, which is why we have people like you, Brian. And I have to admit, I mean, I always loved your knowledge and your passion for this, for sports. And I mean, it is reflective in the comments this morning on our chat.
And let me say this. I told someone that what I said the future, the team that was at Paris augurs well for the future. And they took me to task on mediocrity and always defending and this and that. And I was trying to tell them, do you realize that there were a number of 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds on this team?
Mm-hmm.
And that there were a number of athletes, Leah Bertram, Akila Lewis, Jaden Marshall, 18, Zuri Ferguson, the swimmer, 17, the Fredericks twins, 18, who were making their debuts, right? Yes, you had the Michel Leah. He was being a wonderful servant. You had Nicholas Paul, who has been around so long, but people fail to realize he's only 25.
Yes.
Yeah? You have Kwesi Brown. So it surely some of these athletes will benefit from the experience. It is an investment for 2028. And like you said, Wendell, I really don't know how to respond to people sometimes, but when I see the glee with which they talk about the gangs and the crimes and the killings, as if that's what they're happy to see. rather than the efforts of our youth and young people, whether it is in PAN and other activities, sport, etc., where they're flying the flag in a positive way. I will not go down the road of being pessimistic or giving up, because I believe and I will never lose confidence and faith and belief in the talent of our youth and young people of this country. And I believe that it is our responsibility as leaders to, regardless, to find the opportunity and resources that will help them fulfill their potential and talent. This is a beautiful country. We are punched above our weight in most things, including sports and Olympics, 19 medals, where other countries with greater resources still trying to get one.
Yes.
We take all that for granted.
Yeah.
Well, I also don't think that if it's done constructively, it is an issue with introspection and postmortem.
Pardon?
I also don't think if done constructively, there's an issue. We must have postmortem.
I think it is very important, and I always look forward to it, but the emphasis on analytical, objective, constructive conversations that don't degenerate into personal attacks. At the end of the day, like you all, like all your listeners, the sports leaders, the sports administrators, the sport coaches, the athletes are all generally doing their best with how they know best and with the resources they have available for them. At the end of the day, there is a shared effort to represent Trinidad and Tobago and the red, white, and black in as positive a way as possible.
And I will actually go one step further and ask that writer who you referenced, who you did not name, who I wish you did, when last he went and supported somebody in a stadium? When last?
When last?
Did he or she go and support somebody in a stadium?
Correct. Jerry Mitchell was begging people to come to the National Senior Championships.
Right. Brian, thanks for that this morning. We appreciate
Very
your
much.
support.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Brian, I want you to listen to this show next week, right? God willing. God spare my life. I want you to listen to this show, right? The whole of next week, right?
Okay.
Wendell's going to announce that he's entering pole vaulting.
When is yesterday?
From next week.
Wendell's entering pole vaulting in LA in 2028.
All right, okay, no problem.
He thinks he has an advantage in pole vaulting.
Yeah.
Steve, I see you by Mano later.
Of course, you're asking him answers.
All right, okay.
Have a good day, Brian.
All right, good day, bless.
Yeah, Brian, take care. Of course,
have a great day. Be safe. Up next, Dennise Demming and Lisa
Brian
Gani on Power Conversations. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, folks, have an absolutely great day. And for those celebrating birthdays, happy birthday again. Remember to let go and let God.
Let's get into 8 o'clock news brief.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Time for your news update to 8 o'clock. No Olympic Games medals for Trinidad and Tobago at the end of the prestigious event, which climaxed on Sunday in Paris. However, some of the high points of the Games were Olympic two-time medalist and javelin thrower Keyshawn Walcott placing 7th in the men's finals, Jereme Richards finishing 4th in the men's 400-meter finals. Cyclist Nicholas Paul reached the quarterfinals in the men's sprint, and Kieran Evans. There would have been, going into the Olympics, realistic expectations that we would have medaled in track and field and cycling in particular. But what is important going forward is that one understands that gold medals aren't cheap. This is the comment of former president of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, Brian Lewis, who told the Power Breakfast Show that the lack of medals for TNT, while disappointing, reflects a lack of what's necessary for the athletes to soar. He said, "We want to achieve things, but we don't want to pay the price." He said in many countries, athletes are worked with from a very young age and are exposed to state-of-the-art facilities, training, and coaching. He said that Trinidad and Tobago is not necessarily willing to pay that price. TNT did not medal recently. However, they medaled in 2012 and 2016. Lewis said he thinks the difference is the pool of athletes that would have represented TNT. He said as soon as an athlete hits 30, they begin to go against the grind. He said the question is, who is being groomed to come after? He maintained that this is where the governing body comes into play. He noted that the body must be made to answer on their failure in this regard. He said that while there have been some criticisms on the performance of the athletes, he believes that athletes like Jerome Richards and Keyshawn Walcott gave their all for the country at the Olympics and deserve great and sincere commendation. 3 people were killed by police in Caroni yesterday morning, including a 21-year-old mother of a 2-year-old girl. The 3 have been identified as 21-year-old Gia Jody Barra, 17-year-old Amir Pa Bisoon, and Joseph Ramjet. Police allege they were connected to the resistance gang. However, their relatives yesterday described them as quiet people who were targeted by police. Their deaths brought the number of people killed during police-involved shootings for the year so far to 25. Police claim they were engaged in a shootout with the 3, which resulted in their deaths. A minister in the Ministry of National Security, Keith Scotland, has promised Shoguana's businessmen that extortion will be dealt with. In his address at a business mixer hosted by the Shoguana's Chamber of Industry and Commerce, he gave the assurance that he has direct contact with the DCPs. Scotland said he wants to meet with the CCIC and the Commissioner of Police within the next 3 weeks to develop a plan to make Shoguana safe, which he hopes to implement before the start of the Christmas shopping season. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news in full at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Alrighty.
Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, Lisa. So good to see you on this Power Conversations, and we're going to be talking about youth. But welcome, Lisa, and tell us, how have you been?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be here with you this morning and to be able to share on this International Youth Day some of these, issues that are affecting young people, and hoping to make a little difference in their lives.
Yes, if we could make a difference in the life of one youth, I think we would have been successful. And with today being the International Youth Day, it is extremely important. We're on Power Conversations. Remember, you can call us 222-TALK 8255. That's 222-8255 if you're calling from the US or Canada. It's toll free, and it's 866-525-1099. That's 866-525-1099. And if you wish to WhatsApp us, it's 318-1021. So that's how you can contact us, and we look forward to your feedback. Lisa, how can understanding and practicing good etiquette impact our lives?
Well, I think that, our lives are based on relationships, and in order to form those relationships, there are certain things as a civil society we need to engage in. And etiquette has been around for a long time. And, it's been practiced sometimes formally, and sometimes, your etiquette training is informally done as you progress through life, through your parents and your home environment. And so I think that, understanding how we engage with others really helps to build those foundation relationships which carry on for the rest of our lives. And in a way, it differentiates us because it gives us that little edge, as we get into the professional arena, in how we conduct our business and how we present ourselves as a brand as well, because we each have our own individual brand. And that is just complemented, I think, by the way that we deal with other people, the way that we talk and meet them and interact. So I think that's a foundation, kind of cornerstone to your own personal development.
Mm-hmm. There seems to be a little bit of a difference between how people are trained at home and our expectations of them. Do you have any comment on that, on how people present themselves? What's your view of that?
Well, I think that, the world is changing since our time when we were younger. Many things have changed, and we can't protocol and etiquette. They also are evolving. I mean, we have to look at the different behaviors that and the environment in which we are living now. And etiquette is not a static thing. We talk about cultural norms, we talk about global trends, and as a people we have to learn to adapt as well. So although things may, sometimes we tend to focus a lot on the negative side of it, but also all the generational people too have to learn to adapt as well, and not just look at the new things as negative. We have to be able to embrace it, but at the same time keep those fundamental things that allow us to show respect to each other, because respect basically is the fundamental ground word for etiquette. I mean, whatever we do through that word etiquette is really about respecting each other, and and recognizing that we are different and that we will interact in different ways.
There's an observation that I make, and that is, I mean, many years ago, if you went into a building and a guy went before you, he would allow you to go ahead, if he would open the door. In today's world, I'm not seeing that. In today's world, I'm not seeing people saying to you, like, good morning, how are you? Thank you. I'm not seeing those things. And to me, those things impact the kind of relationships we have, and they are serious in terms of etiquette. What are your views of that?
Well, I agree 100%. I mean, as I started off, relationships have to be built. And how do we build those relationships? And it starts off with the simple things. We learn about, again, we go back to respect. And how do we respect each other? We may not all be friends, we may not even know someone, but at the end of the day, if you're going into an elevator, if you're going into a room full of people, the basic thing is to say good morning or good afternoon, good evening, make an acknowledgement of that person. As you say, if you're going into a building, it doesn't take anything out of you to hold a door open for someone, even if it's someone of the same sex. I mean, you don't have to necessarily hold a door open only for a man for a woman or a woman for a man. It is again part of caring, part of caring for humanity. It's a human instinct to me when you do things like that, and whether it has to be taught, nurtured, or it comes naturally is another thing that we can ask. Some people tend to be a lot more I don't know if you want to use the word outgoing, and that they feel more comfortable to do these things, and others, they just need a little push, and maybe also to be told, and maybe it needs to be taught. It is some things are taught behaviors, some things come naturally, and maybe now we need to go back to the basics and start to really reach out in these ways to teach some of these skills that seem to be lost.
Yeah. If I had any kind of power, I would certainly do an awareness program of saying please and thanks, of saying good morning or good afternoon, or telling people I wish you the best. I would certainly do an awareness program of that, because I find that our society has moved away from being absolutely warm and lovely and soft to now being absolutely aggressive and careless. And we see it not only in interpersonal relationships, but we see it in how people drive. We see it in other kinds of things. So I think one takeaway that we've had from this conversation so far is that we need to teach the basics of etiquette once again in order to have it a little more popular in our society. So moving on, what challenges do you think that today's youth face because social media etiquette is very different. So what are some of the challenges you think the young people are feeling?
I think as you say, even the theme for this International Youth Day, when I was looking at it, was about digital engagement. And, as much as I appreciate that we have to progress and that the digital age is upon us and is changing rapidly, and it also has, like everything, has good and bad aspects to it. It has taken away the personal interaction and communication in many ways between people, and the young people in particular. I was with some of my family yesterday, a lot of young people, and everyone was on their phone after we had lunch and so on, and everybody's sitting down. We're all together, but I looked around and like 5 out of 6 were all on their phone. And I was tempted to reach for my phone as well. So, that disconnect between social interaction and conversation is a very big challenge. But that said, I also tend to find that the things that human beings, the basic human needs of that people still need and want, are very, very much there, and that is connection, love, compassion, caring, and all of those emotional feelings. And when we are devoid of that, we get what we're getting in society now. The fact that people are angry. Why are they angry? Because they're hurt, they're anxious, they're tense. They don't have that outlet to communicate with someone who will listen, because listening is so important. We can't react unless we listen. And many times we are not focused on listening. So we really don't know what's happening with that person. So it is an extremely complicated environment in which we are living now. And I think the young people, this generation in particular, are experiencing a lot of anxiety from that. When you speak with them, people are so busy that they don't have time to do the family things that are very important. And so, you grow up without that environment. And then, why would you feel like saying hello, good morning, and, and doing those things unless you are living it? If you're not living it, you can't share it. So I think that is definitely a challenge.
Mm-hmm. One of the things you just talked about is listening. And sometimes when I do communications training and strategy and so on, I remind people that listening is not just throwing out what you have in your head.
Yes.
Because oftentimes we listen, but we're not listening. What we're doing is we formed our response and we're just waiting for the gap in order to tell you what our response is, as opposed to really listening to what someone is saying and trying to hear what really is behind this.
Yes.
And I think a lot of our young people do not feel heard.
Yes.
And they do not feel heard because we're not using listening in the way that we should. So how could we strategize around that?
That's a tough one. I think that's a question that may have a lot of different areas, and it impacts on different things because again, I go back to the family as the the cornerstone, the building block for all of our characters and personalities. And really, the first people who have to listen are parents. And if that is not being done, then what are we doing? Are we transferring that responsibility now to teachers, who also are parents and also have, their role and responsibility? And then, so it becomes like, who's listening? Is it the friends? Then are the friends wise enough or experienced enough to really understand, because they are going through the same thing as their their colleagues or their friends. So they don't have that experience yet to really counsel or speak to them. with the knowledge that they need to pass on that knowledge. So, I think the family is where we have to start and really try to build on that family environment, go back to the basics there, because that's really where etiquette starts. I mean, if I remember my home training, that's where I was taught to say please and thank you. You couldn't just hand your parent, if your parent handed you something, you couldn't just take it and walk off. You had to, they'll take it back and they'll say, excuse me, you go to the table, everybody sits down, you wait for your parents to start the meal, and then you start to eat, and there's conversation around the table that is conversation that would be about your day, about things that are happening, sharing, and so on. And now again, because the pace of life is different and we have so many things happening, though a lot of times we miss out on those experiences.
But Lisa, one of the things you've just said that is so important is that you had a meal together as a family, and there are things you had to do. And people tend to see that as a middle class kind of activity, which it is not. Having a meal together, no matter where you are, but having a meal together as a family and showing just appreciation helps you to be a little less anxious, and it helps you to be grounded, and it helps you to feel confident. And that's what our children need. One of the interesting things that is happening as I'm doing this Power Conversation program is the family seems to be the conversation that everything goes to. When we talk about violence, it is what is happening in the family. Now we're talking about etiquette. You've just raised that tremendous issue about what did you get as a family member? How were you taught to do things and to show respect and so on? And I just want to remind our audience, please call us 222-TALK, that's 222-8255, or if you're in the US or Canada, it's toll-free 866-525-1099, or you can WhatsApp us on 868-318-1021. So that's 318-1021. So, Lisa, let's just move on a little from the basics that we've talked about, which are things like please and thanks and just appreciation of people. And let's just have a little chat about how should young people conduct themselves in job interviews? What should they be focusing on?
Well, I start with a lot of times, being your genuine self to me is very important, because when we get into an interview, the fact that we're in the interview means that we've met the criteria to be there. Whether it is you have to have your 5 O levels or your bachelor's or whatever it is, you've already gotten through that part of it. So that what is going to differentiate you now when you're in that room doing that interview is your personality, your character, how you're going to express yourself, how you're going to present yourself, and your personal attributes. So therefore, this is again where some of the etiquette of the business etiquette or professional etiquette needs to come through. Because depending on what organization you're going to, the cultures of organizations also are very different. And so therefore, if you're going into an advertising agency versus going into maybe a financial institution, how you present yourself also will be different. Dress codes will be different. But at the end of it, the fundamentals are, there are some basic things that you want to be. You want to be presented neat, tidy. Your hygiene should be good. Again, how you come across when you greet your interviewer should be professional, a handshake, not a hi there, how you going kind of story. It's a little more formal in that you're meeting someone for the first time. So you need to introduce yourself in a proper way. Of course, be on time. Time is of the essence. If you're punctuality, if you're going to an interview, you don't want to be late. Again, listen to what the questions are. Don't start with me, and I, and I did this and I did that. Listen to what is being asked so that you can answer the questions, and think them through. Be attentive. Look at your body language. Look at how you're sitting, your posture, how you speak, your diction. all of these things, come together to create that package that you want to present. Because here you are now, as I say, with maybe 5 or 10 other people, all just as qualified as you are. But how do you make yourself stand out? And those are the things that, your etiquette and your personality and your presentation skills will really make the difference in.
When you talk about shaking hands, can you give me some details on how do we shake hands? You just reach out? What do you do?
Well, there's a whole exercise that we do when we're teaching it. But again, of course, you're using this hand, your right hand, and you are extending your right hand out. You're engaging thumbs in to each other with a firm handshake. You're not grasping the ends of the person's fingers. You're not, reaching out to grab their hand. You're engaging with them with two pumps at the elbow, and then you remove your hand. You're not keeping the person's hand. You're not smothering their hand with your other hand. It's you don't want to be too familiar. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand the dynamics going on there. So when you shake, you drop your hand and you let the person. You also look at the personal space between you, because we don't want to be too close up to someone, or we don't want to be too far apart. Too close is not comfortable. Too far also means like I'm also, kind of afraid of you, or I don't want to be near to you. So those signs that we send out when we're doing that are important to Trinidad. We usually look like at about 18 inches to 2 feet away from each other is comfortable. And then, of course, when you're shaking hands, you want to connect with the eyes as well, because you don't want to be looking down at your feet while you're shaking someone's hand. You want to acknowledge them by looking at them in their eyes, a little smile, not a grin, a little smile. So, you're pleased to meet them. And that's something that we say when we shake hands. We say, I'm so pleased to meet you, which acknowledges the other person as well.
There's the observation I make is that we tend to touch each other's fingers as opposed to clasping, wrist, the palm to palm. We tend not to do that. So we tend to hold on to people's fingers. And that is not just a youth issue.
No.
I've seen that with some of my contemporaries who do that. And if you want to engage, you need to engage, but you need to have that border between engaging and looking a little intimate, which is what you don't want to do.
Yes. And I think it's also it also comes with confidence. Again, in some cultures, women and men don't touch, and in some of the East Indian and Asian cultures, the handshakes of women are very soft and a little withdrawn. So I don't know if we have inherited some of that because of our, cross-cultural ethnicities within our society. But definitely when you're going into business, and this is something that you have to be conscious of, and because it is a universal greeting all over the world. No matter whatever your cultural preference, even if you say in some countries we might bow, we might kiss, we might do different things. When it comes to business, the handshake still remains the main international greeting of choice. So, it is worth learning how to give a good handshake. And ladies, don't feel bashful. It helps to develop your confidence, and it presents you in a very powerful way.
You've just made a very interesting point that because we are such a cross-cultural society, there are some persons in their home, they may have been trained or taught not to touch a male, like a woman may be taught not to touch a male. And culturally, we need to acknowledge that and understand that. But we also need to understand that there are some expectations in the business environment that we need to make a little difference with or work through, have a conversation before and so on. But the point you're making, Lisa, about the handshake and the confidence that suggests is really, really important for our young people. Yeah. I want to move on a little bit to etiquette and how do young people dress. I mean, and that is so controversial these days. So if someone is going for a job, what would be some of the suggestions in terms of how they dress?
Okay. Well, we have office attire. Um, again, I would look at the environment in which you're working in. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So, regardless of whether or not your office policy is more of a business casual does not mean you cut off jeans with holes in them and so on. Business casual means dressing professionally. If your office says, okay, you have polos to wear, you wear a clean laundered polo, not a dingy looking polo that is for the backyard when you're gardening, but something that that is office appropriate. You're wearing that with your if you're allowed to wear your jeans, you wear proper jeans, tailored, fitting, appropriate belt, shoes, and again, it goes with the dress code policy of the company that you're working with, right? We live in a tropical country. We have a lot of people who work outdoors. We have a lot of people who work in, they're driving cars or they're doing different things. So again, I come back to making sure that, you dress according to the policy of the company, but you do keep yourself properly, hygiene proper. And of course, your clothes should be laundered and looking and presented well on you. Too big is not a fit and too small is not a fit. So if you are whatever size that you are, dress for your comfort, but also dress, so that the clothes look as they're fitting you properly. And of course, the more formal businesses require you to dress in again. If you're in the law environment, if you're in the finance environment, if you're working in a government office, for instance, you may be required to wear proper trousers, a suit with a blazer, a crisp shirt inside, proper shoes. I am sometimes really taken aback by the shoes that people wear to work, in that the slippers are not appropriate for work. If you have to wear shoes without heels, there are many nice dress shoes now that don't have to necessarily have very high heels. You have wedges, you have the block heels, but again, clean shoes that are not that don't have a lot of nicks and different things on them. And then, of course, again, clothes that fit you well. So a skirt, suit, not revealing clothes either. Revealing clothes are party clothes. When you're at work, you're dressing for your comfort, and you're dressing also for I always tell people this and they laugh, but you're dressing also for the comfort of others. You're working in an environment where you have to work with a lot of other people, and people may not feel comfortable, with you dressed half naked with a slit right up to your, to your hips and things like this. And then you yourself, I see a lot of ladies, they're walking and they try to pull down their skirt every minute because the skirt is riding up and so on. So, think about how you're presenting yourself. You don't over accessorize either, because it's work. You don't need to over accessorize. Diamantes and shiny stuff, that's all for the night. If you're going out at night, you put on your diamantes and your bling jewelry. But if you're going to work, you try to dress down a little bit so that the focus really is on the job that you're trying to get done.
Lisa, you just said diamantes, you said that shiny things and so on. There's so many people I see in the streets in the middle of the day with sequins on and all of that. You just said that is for the evening. Is that old fashioned?
I don't think so. I think it's still all the books that I read. I try to keep up to date, and I look at all of the the training materials and different things, and I still look. That is still what is suggested. I mean, again, you have to put it into the where are you going? If you're going out during the day to something that is to a party or something that has a theme that says bling out, well, bling out. But if you're going to the office and you're going to work and you're going to a funeral, or you're going to, look at the event that you are going to, and what is the tone of that event, and how do you think? And if you don't know, we're on our phones all the time. We're talking about that. Just Google it. You'll get loads of pictures of what is appropriate and what you can do. And of course, yes, we all have different personalities. Some are a little more laid back than others. I'm not saying don't let your personality come into your dress. You must. Not all of us are navy blue people. Some people look beautiful in color and can carry the prints and the different things, but it's the styling of it. And if you go with a very loud print and a loud color, then you can downplay the accessories. You don't have to have the pop in the accessories. If you have something plain, then you put the pop in the accessories to bring it out. And then you bring it out by your own personality too.
Lisa just got something in the chat. Says Lisa just arrived back on planet Earth after a lifetime on Mars. And that is a typical attitude. And that, when the suggestion is we're not staying up to date. And I want to challenge that person, because there are organizations that have rules about how you dress, what colors you wear, what are the things you ought to be doing. And if we do not respect those, then it is going to transfer into other parts of the society. So is it that you've just come back from Mars?
No, I don't think so. I think, as I said, the world is changing, and there are many things now that are different. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that I think that we still have to pay attention to. And I'm not by any means saying don't upplay your personality, don't be your genuine self. You have to do that, but you also have to be aware that you're living in a world with lots of other people. And how do we mutually live together in that space? And again, I come back to respect each other, to respect each other's differences and each other's personalities, and still all be happy together.
Yeah. I certainly support what you're saying, Lisa, that we have to have a work ethic in terms of how we present ourselves, how we dress, how we speak. And that could be very different to our party ethic. Because the party ethic is something else. You may decide at a party that you can go in a bra alone and a pair of shorts, but you should not do that if you're going to go to work. Because if you're going to go to work, you don't want people to focus on your physical being as opposed to the intellectual capacity and contribution that you are making. And oftentimes, if you're dressed in that way, it just distracts people. They spend all the time looking at, that's her boobs, boy. So we have to be careful.
Yeah, but Dennise, the thing is that the world has changed so much, and we talk a lot about human rights. We talk about women's rights, and that's a conversation that has many aspects to it, because as women, we feel that a lot of has gone away then from the looking demure and just coming across very not really doing what we want to do. So it's gone from one extreme to another, and so some people may be comfortable with it and others may not. The question is still out as to how do we all feel comfortable with it, because some women won't feel comfortable in certain ways, but then does that mean that because we don't feel comfortable that we should be pointing a finger at those who do? So it's really something that is still out there to be resolved in a way, and I think we have to think think, it requires thought.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
requires a lot of thought.
And I do think that young people, especially if they're going to a job interview, they need to work through what is the organization I'm going to? How do I want to present myself? And a question that they can ask is, okay, when I exit this room, what do I want people to remember? And if you answer those questions, then you come from a different perspective. There's another comment on the chat that we're in an age of COVID, so physical engagement can be dangerous. And I agree with that. Physical engagement can be dangerous, but that doesn't mean you can't shake someone's hand. That physical engagement is something that we have to work through again, but it doesn't mean that we just have to be away from each other. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, etiquette is fluid in that, we have over the years adapted etiquette for different, different situations. And of course, during COVID, there were many things that changed for us. Even the fact that we can now do this interview online and communicate like this. This was actually one of the things that became a lot more predominant during the COVID era. Of engaging online, and that there was a whole new etiquette that came out of that as well. How should we dress for online? How should, what's the environment? If you're doing a business meeting, what's the whole environment that you should have at home to be able to conduct that business and so on? And of course, one of the things was when we got back out there, how do we engage with each other with regards to greetings and so on? Again, I would say, we do things for not only for our comfort, but for the comfort of others. Because if we go back to respecting each other, someone may not, if they feel compromised, may not be comfortable with shaking hands. And therefore, we need to assess the situation when we go into that environment and, follow suit. Because etiquette is there to make other people feel comfortable and to be acknowledged. And so I'm not saying, I'm not going hard and fast and say, go and push your hand and make the handshake a big deal. If it is that you get from assessing the situation that, this is a person who may not want to shake hands, you can acknowledge them by simply saying a greeting. Good morning, sir. Good morning. If you know the person, Mr. Smith, so pleased to meet you this morning, and you nod your head, and and the person feels that you have acknowledged them. So knowing that before, and a lot of things, especially when we come to the more hard and fast protocol issues, are really, the end result is really from a lot of preparation and a lot of knowing where you're going, who you're going to meet, how you're going to greet. All of these things are pre-planned. They're not done on the spot as you go. So that, even in our own little interactions, if we're going somewhere, we need to find out about the people, we need to find out about the place, learn something before you get on the spot.
And that's such a very important point that you've made, that it has to be pre-planned. And again, that is something that I think our society has moved away from, that we do not often do a lot of pre-planning. So you go to places and you suddenly realize that they're doing this, it's a response, as opposed to what were the expectations, what was the planning that you want. But I thought about something while you were talking about if someone is uncomfortable, let's say with shaking hands, there's nothing wrong with saying, good morning. I would prefer not to shake your hands because I'm not feeling comfortable with that. Is that okay? Yes. And most times people will say to you, of course, that's okay.
Of course.
So it really has to do with the message I'm getting from you, Lisa, is that it has to do with respect and treating people with a kind of warmth and your authentic self. So when people look at your eyes, what they see is someone who really has an interest, as opposed to arrogance,
Correct. And a smile solves so many things, even in a mistake or even in something that is, that maybe you didn't get it right, and you just quickly put a smile and say, I'm so sorry. You just make a comment that sort of breaks the ice, and that smile, and like you say, that interaction with your eyes is something that can say 1,000 words.
So, what are some simple ways to improve your manners?
I think, I went to school to do this. If it is that you don't feel comfortable with your ability to, or your level of etiquette, or even your professional engagements, there are courses that you can go to. There's simple things that you can practice on your own. Like, even if you can't go to a course, as I said, the internet now has a lot of resources that you can go to. Make sure you go to good resources, because there's some that are not as good as the others. Practice things, little things that you can do to improve yourself. And the more that you do something, is the more comfortable that you feel doing it. I've done a lot of these short courses at schools and so on. The reaction is always very positive. I'm so pleased that with the interaction and the enthusiasm of a lot of the young people in the schools, that they embrace it. They don't think that it's something that is not. But you know what I get back a lot, Dennise, and this is where adults really have to step up, because young people will say, "But Miss, I tell my teacher good morning, or I tell my principal good morning, but they ignore us." They'll pass them straight in the hallway. They don't say good morning or good evening. So if we're trying to say to our young people, we want you to do these things, then we have to do it. We have to be the adults have to be setting the example. So if they're not seeing that example, then why should they do it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't only fall on the young people. It really is a responsibility, again, for the elders in the society. If a young person says something, and the response is negative and angry, then why would they want to go back and do something just because it's out of a book or out of a textbook? They won't.
Yeah.
So we all have to live.
The message that I'm getting from that, and again, it's a consistent message that I'm hearing, is that adults in the society have to perform in the way that they expect young people to do. Because young people are looking at adults, and in some instances, they're saying, what is the message here? And if the language the person is using continues to be aggressive and it has obscene language in it, then the young person thinks, well, that's what I can do. So when they hear something different, it's a gap, and it's a negative gap. So we have to move to that positive approach, and our contemporaries have to change our styles. So we have to be doing the good mornings. We have to be performing in a way that young people will look at us and say, that's really, really good.
Yes.
What has popped into your mind, Lisa?
Yes, so that that leading by example is really the best way to go. If you lead by example, then even in your workplace, you find that your employees tend to emulate the person who is the leader, and therefore we have a responsibility there to in those positions, not just to perform a job, but we actually are the mentors. And when you sit in those seats, and now young professionals as well, we can't just say it's the responsibility of only the older people in society. The fact is that so many young professionals now are in leadership positions, and they also have to understand that is part of their the responsibility of grooming the people within their whole unit or area, is also in those softer skills.
Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit about how people write to each other, because you used to write to Dear Miss Ghani. When do I transfer from Dear Miss Ghani to Dear Lisa?
Again, familiarity is something that, when in professional communication, we have to ask for. My advice, start with the more formal until you're invited into being less formal, so that we can't be meeting a person for the first time and just say, okay, Dennise, how you going, girl? No, and even if we are the same age, it does not matter. Age has nothing to do with it. It just has to do, again, with the professionalism, because we bandy around that word professionalism a lot. But what does it really encapsulate? What are the tenets of professionalism? And so, therefore, until you're invited, because like a simple thing, if I go into a store, I don't want the attendant to call me, hey, hun, hun, what are you looking for today?
But Lisa, that is the norm.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know the person might mean well, and they're not doing it out of a bad place. But again, familiar, that is, it's at a different level. And so again, I think, maybe that's because I'm an older person. I don't know. Dennise, you tell me.
I think that we have moved away from respecting each other to such an extent that, for instance, I walked into a place recently and the person said, so, hi, Granny, how you going? Now, what is that? I come in, I'm a customer. I want you to treat me in a way that makes me feel that, okay, I'm going to continue to be in here. I have purchased stuff simply because the person there was so wonderful. I have walked out of stores because somebody, hey, hi, Granny, how you going? So I think that we need to get back to some of those levels of respecting people and understanding that a consumer is that person. They need to feel comfortable. And because that consumer purchases something in your store, it helps you to get paid. So treat the consumer with absolute love and respect. And I think we need to work harder on that.
Yes. And I think we also need, and again, I'm not just saying you and me, this is each person, when you come back to it, how you present yourself too, sometimes helps to give the other person the indicators how they should treat you. If I come into a store or I come into a place, I will say, good morning, and I look at the person, I wait for a response. Sometimes if they don't respond, I might say it again. I said, hi, I said good morning, and I have a smile on my face, and I'm hoping to get a positive reaction. Sometimes it works, sometimes the person just continues along in their way. But I the first responsibility that I'm saying is mine.
Yeah.
How I present myself, and then sometimes it encourages the other person to respond in like manner. But there's lots of things and experiences that you have that are unexplainable.
Yeah, you wonder what is happening here. Lisa, can we just talk a little bit about protocol? Because there was a and Lisa, as soon as I say protocol, you start to laugh. So tell me, what are you smiling at? What has made you feel that, this is funny?
Because, protocol too, it is changing. It has changed. And protocol and etiquette go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. They're influenced, as I said, etiquette is more of the terms of engagement of civil society. Protocol is more along the rules, set rules in managing certain situations in diplomacy and international relations, politics and government, and so many other, an organizational protocol as well with companies and corporations and so on. So we have protocol at all those different levels, but very much connected to the terms of engagement of civil society etiquette. And of course, the world has changed dramatically. Many things that have happened politically and globally have impacted the way that we practice protocol. Over the years, we can see that, from 9/11 coming straight up, especially in the areas of safety, risk management, and so on. So and of course diplomacy, where in many cases now, the politics have crossed the line with the sort of career diplomats who are very much more trained in the art of soft diplomacy and so on. And therefore we see differences in the way that, people conduct themselves in public office and in public life. So that's why I just smiled a bit there.
I love that term that you've brought in, soft diplomacy, because it is so important in today's world that we don't always have this yes, yes, yes. We sometimes have to have this back conversation to understand what is the outcome we're looking for, what is the objective, and what is the soft diplomacy that we could engage in order to achieve that. Is that what soft diplomacy refers to?
In many ways, yes. It is where, we want to be able to sit at a table. We want to be able to negotiate. We want to be able to listen to one another, and find mutually beneficial solutions. The win-win that we talk about, that everybody comes out feeling as though they have achieved something, and not so much the confrontational, situations where it's all about a tit for tat and no resolution really, that we're still going forward with the same problems or challenges without really understanding clearly, have we moved on? Have we found a solution to this problem? And are we really progressing?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Lisa, let's just switch a little bit to basic etiquette around meals. So, for example, I was in an office recently and I saw someone going around with a coffee cup and a spoon in it. So they were drinking the coffee with the spoon in it. Any comments on that?
Dennise, you're asking me hard questions here, and why I say that is, again, I come back to the environment. What do we want? If I'm going into an office, does this office have a policy? Does it have rules? Does it have, because I mean, when I worked, and I still see it because I work with a lot of organizations, that organizations will have a lunchroom. If you have a lunchroom, you're expected to go to your lunchroom to have your meals, your breaks, your different things. You can sit at a table, you can have your coffee, you can make you can warm up your lunch, you can eat your lunch in your office. They have a clean desk policy where you do not eat at your desk and you do not do certain things at your desk. If that is your office policy, then you need to fall in line and do the things, because I would suppose that if you do not do those things, then your office will also make you accountable for certain things. If there is no office policy, then you go back to, again, you go back to home training. What would you do at home? And if it is that I respect my other co-workers and so on, yes, I can have a cup of coffee at my desk. Nothing is wrong with that. But I'm not at home where I'm walking around the living room with my coffee cup, stirring my coffee and drinking it while I'm talking to you and while I'm doing business. Because, think a little more. If the coffee cup falls, if it's on your desk and it gets knocked over on your papers and your business, your laptop and your different things like that, this is an office environment. And so therefore it's not about not being, of someone saying, oh God, you can't drink a cup of coffee. And, you look, it's not about that. It's about the place that you are in, the environment you are in, and what you're there to do. So by all means, I will have my coffee at my desk, or, but then you need to understand, does your environment suit that? Are you in a cubicle? Where are you, and what is your space like, and what is the policy of the place that you're working in with regards to those type of things?
And one of the key messages that I've just heard from you is that the organization needs to have its policies so that people can follow those.
Yes.
One more thing, Lisa. Eating with a knife and fork as opposed to a spoon.
Cultural, again, eating with a knife and fork is something that is, again, an international best practice. If you're eating out, if you are a business person and part of your job requires you to attend functions and go to dinner or to meals with other people, a knife and fork is the traditional form of eating, and therefore we need to practice to be able to use a knife and fork. Culturally, again, many people have grown up at home eating with a spoon. When you're in your home environment, if that is what you're comfortable, I'm not going to knock it, but I'm going to say that, just again, try to acquire the skill of eating with a knife and fork if that is going to be something that you're going to be using socially in your business environment, in your work environment, and even with other friends, because the norm is that if you go to a restaurant, that they will provide you with a knife and fork as the basic cutlery at the table. And therefore, if you're not accustomed to using it, you may feel uncomfortable. And basically, it's about your confidence. Come back to these things are not for the confidence of others. This is for your confidence. Do you want to be the only person at the table using a spoon? Now, and so therefore, it's not knocking the person who uses the spoon, but saying that there are other alternatives and that you need to be aware of it. And you need to, practice doing it so that you're comfortable if you're in an environment where it is the chosen method of eating.
Lovely. So, Lisa, as we were about to wrap up, what are some messages that you would like our audience to take away from today?
I think, again, I go back to respecting one another, respecting our values, and that we live in a space with other persons, and therefore, we really have to be caring and in tune with the others in our society. And to be able to do that, basic courtesies are still expected and the norm. And that when we show these basic courtesies, these are the things that will be returned to us, so that when we practice these things, we have an opportunity to impact the lives of others, because little things still mean a lot. And that is the thing that will stay with you. And I'll leave you with a little incident that happened to me yesterday. And it almost brought me to tears, because I was driving up to the airport and I stopped at the intersection, and a young girl was selling corn and lemons and limes. And I said, well, I want a bag of corn and I want a bag of lemons. And she said, I said, I have $100. She said, I don't have any change. And then she looked at me and she said, Miss, you're so nice. Take it now. I said, I said, oh my God, I cannot take this from you. She said, no, you're a nice lady. Take it. And I ended up giving her the $100. And I said, give me the 3 bags of corn that you have and the limes. I'm going to take it. And she was being kind to me. And I felt so, I don't know, it just made me feel so cared for by this complete stranger. And sometimes those are the little things that people need in their lives, to be recognized, to be respected, to be cared about, and if we do more of that, we'll be happier. We'll be happier.
We'll be much happier. Thank you ever so much, Lisa, for an hour of talking about protocol and etiquette with regard to young people, and recognizing today as a day that looks towards young people. And our young people are following the adults. So some of us just have to up our game and ensure that we respect each other and we treat each other with love. Thank you ever so much, Lisa. This has been Power Conversations on Power 102. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Same to you.